What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Good to see you, gang, bright and early here on a Monday. Hopefully everybody's day's going pretty well. Joker just ran out of the room in a panic. I think he was asleep under the desk. I know he's under the desk. I don't know if he was asleep, but he's gone now. He'll be back. He'll come barging on in, interrupt our conversation about this interesting 8-gamer. Might turn out to be like a 5-gamer, depending on what the weather wants to do in the Midwest. But it's an interesting shaped slate. Some decent pitching to work with. A couple explosive spots, especially if that Cubs game stays on the board. Looks like another big day potentially out of Wrigley. But we need the weather to hold off a little bit. Taking a look at Mr. Ross' board for this one, it is kind of concerning. We'll get into all that. 8 games to talk about. Plenty of time to do it. Say hi to some people. Cujo's here. Clintwood. Ducking. Good to see everybody. Stephen B. What's going on, gang? Hope everybody had good weekends, good start to your work weeks, whatever else is going on. Couple minutes late getting the show started. I got fixated on I have a black and white cat, and I'm wearing a black shirt, obviously. And I picked him up to go put him in the other room, and then I got fixated on picking off every single one of the white hairs that I could spot, like looking at the view on YouTube. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen, rotoscouts.com. Everything's under $1 a day, as everybody who's in the chat right now, and probably everybody watching this video right now knows. But check it out if you're not currently subscribed. No time like the present. Top Stacks tool is free today on the website. Feel free to kick that around via social media and whatnot. Likes and retweets always help. Likes and subscribes on the video here definitely helps. Feel free to dive in the comments, too. Give us your home run pick of the day. Who's your home run pick? Put it in the comments for the video. Maybe I'll choose if somebody gets one right. Maybe I'll throw you a free week or something like that if you're not currently subscribed. We'll do that during the show today. Top Stacks tool is free on the site already. And put your home run pick of the day in a comment on the video. Like, leave it there. And if you get it right, I'll circle back and give you a free week. One guess only. You don't get to pick everybody on the slate. And you don't get to pick who I picked for the home run pick either. That's mine. If I get it right, you all have to subscribe for a week. Paid. That's what the website's for. Hopefully you are checking it out. Home run picks have been pretty good. Last week was a little bit light for the main pick, but you get a lot in the meat of the article as well, and we drilled a couple of them last week. But let's get into today's slate. We've got a little bit of a quorum here. I was stalling for time there. Let people catch up to the early show. But an interesting slate. We've got the wraparound game for the weekend series between the Orioles and the Yanks. 8.5 run total there. The Orioles side of that one kind of suppressed. One of the top pitchers of the day, Cam Schlittler on the mound for the Yankees. He's just been dynamite so far. But the Yanks are, and on their side, the Yanks drawing a fairly good total at 5.06 implied runs, third highest on this board. Despite the 8.5 run total, they're going up against Shane Baz, up and down starter. Most of his outings this year, he's given up a handful of runs. Most of his outings in his career, he's given up a handful of runs. Had some issues last year with pitching in that minor league stadium, Steinbrenner Field down in Tampa. Now with the O's, he's put it together a few times. Wouldn't stun me if he had a day. He certainly could have one of those outings against the Yankees, 6 to 8 strikeouts, just keep them off the board. They're swinging out of their shoes for a day. It does happen with the Yanks, but they're showing clear upside. Several players on the Yankees well above the magic number for home run upside, and Baz can push that in their direction. Decent day for hitting in the New York area, but not quite what we've got in the Midwest. We take a little bit of a time gap. I think it's early 7 o'clock game. What is it, 7:05? Oh, it's 7:05, 7:10 at Wrigley. Did that game move up? Wasn't it 7:05? And then, yeah. I think they moved the Wrigley game up by a half hour, which is probably to accommodate the weather I was about to talk about. But I think that game was earlier in the day, was in the 7:40. I thought it was this game, the Yankee game, and then 3 games in the 7:40 window. Either way, so we move out to the Midwest. We catch a significant wind blowing out at Wrigley, which has a big impact on runs there. That's the 11.5 run total. This is out of order now, of course, but this game's up next. So obviously, the meat of the day, looking like Coors Field again. The Cubs getting the lion's share of it at 6.87 implied runs, significantly above any other team on the. It's a run and a half above where the Dodgers are, nearly 2 runs above the Yankees. So a significant total with several Cubs showing obvious upside for power. That's a real go get it kind of a spot that I think everybody will be on. Chase Petty, a rookie on the mound for the Reds. And then going back the other way, a pretty decent total on the Red side as well at 4.77, but obviously not pulling as much upside from that outrageous game environment as the Cubs are. And it's Edward Cabrera on the mound for Chicago, who can be kind of a mixed bag, but he's gotten it together a little bit with the walks. Strikeouts are going up slightly. The walks are coming down somewhat to kind of mirror what he was doing last year. So it's looked a little bit better, but under the surface, the XFIP, the Sierra don't exactly align with the ERA. A little back and forth in that spot, certainly allowing plenty of contact, so we could see some offensive upside, but it's not a terrible day to be Cabrera. That Guardians and Royals game, that's Tanner Bybee against Michael Wacha, a couple mediocre righties, or at least 2 guys who are pitching kind of middle of the road right now. Neither guy's been completely awful, but neither guy's been exactly on form either. 9 run total in that one, 4.43 implied on the Guardian side, 4.66 implied on the Royals side. And then that Brewers Cardinals game, 8.5 run total there. Mid fours implied on both sides of that one as well. That's Chad Patrick against Kyle Leahy. 2 gettable starters. Brewers probably a little bit more consistent, a little bit more reliable. Cards prone to some outbursts at low ownership for fair prices. So some reasonable options to consider there. But all 3 of those games are where the weather is. And this, I'll stop working. So we get Wrigley, 16-mile-an-hour wind blowing out. Not a terrible, it's 31% chance of precipitation per Roth's board over at Prop Finder. Let me reload this real quick. Make sure we've got the most recent. Yeah, so 31% chance of precipitation, but he's got it orange. And orange is usually where I'll at least give it some thought about what we want to do. I definitely will have this game in and plan on playing bats from it until they take it off the board. But definitely that's one to keep an eye on. Again, I believe that start moved up. 7:10 start time now, East Coast time. So you should know well ahead of lock what's going on there. Considering that they moved it up, if they delay start it then into the window that they had previously, I'm not sure exactly what that would mean, but I don't know that it's as good news as typically a delayed start might be if we get that situation. And then Ross Reed is basically same situation in KC. He's got that, he literally says, this is exactly the same pattern as Detroit and Chicago. Starts dry, storms pop in the area, could cause a lengthy delay. If they happen over the ballpark, could end the back half of the game. It looks like he did upgrade the St. Louis game. He's got that as yellow now. Winds blowing out 12 miles an hour to left field in that one. But I guess the chance of precipitation came down. Pretty warm days in all those games. So good hitting environments, good run totals to focus on all 3 of these. And especially this one, you just need the weather to cooperate. If the weather doesn't cooperate in those games, you do have the Dodgers pulling a 5.28 total in a pretty good spot there. They're going up against Steven Okert as an opener, and then I have it as Ryan Weiss. It might be Colton Gordon, but I haven't seen him recalled. I believe he's still down in AAA. If somebody's seen it or if they've confirmed it since I've started talking about this, just let me know and we can swap it out. Right now, I've got Okert on the mound just to take care of the opener, and then I've got Weiss projected on the site. But we'll swap it out if we catch up. Going the other way, Yoshi Yamamoto on the mound for the Dodgers, definitely looking like an asset on the mound. 3.82 implied on the Astros side. It is still a dangerous lineup to tangle with, given the hitters that are in it, but that's a low total. He's an effective pitcher. The upside can come and go a little bit, but the depth is rock solid. He's completed the 6th inning in 5 of his 6 starts, and he's completed the 7th inning in 2 of those. So he's been terrific. Pitched into the 8th, 7 2/3, and one of them against the Mets. The White Sox and the Angels, interesting spot here. Davis Martin has been pitching really, really well. 7 strikeouts in each of his last 2 outings. He's been pitching deep into ball games. Really successful, 1.95 ERA, a 2.88 FIP, a 3.55 xFIP, and a 4.55 xERA. So the underlying numbers somewhat all over the place. But we liked some of the gains that he's made. The arsenal somewhat improved, and he's been finding success with it. It looks like a reasonable spot with some upside for strikeout. The Angels come in at a 4.16 implied total. They've got some dangerous home run hitters in that lineup for sure. Martin's given up 2 homers in his 6 starts this season. It hasn't been a problem for him. Like the upside for K's, I think he could be a little bit playable on this one. And then Jose Soriano is just really expensive on the other side. He gets the shot at the White Sox. We know there's a few upside bats in that lineup, but overall they're very, very gettable. 3.42 implied. That said, Soriano a little bit more human in his last 3 starts. Hasn't completed 6 in any of them. Didn't give up any runs in the start on the 17th or the 22nd against the Padres and the Blue Jays. It's just he went 5 2/3 and 5 innings. Struck out 8, walked 4 against the Pods. Only struck out 4 and gave up 7 hits against the Blue Jays. That was kind of his undoing there. And then the last time out against the White Sox, these White Sox, went 5, gave up 3 earned runs on 6 hits, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. He gave up 2 home runs. That was his worst outing of the season. The one of 2 outings in which he gave up any earned runs. He's been utterly fantastic. I don't see any reason other than price to go away from him, but I do think we might be normalizing the numbers somewhat. He was at an unsustainably high level. Braves and the Mariners. It's J.R. Ritchie, who I think I want to target with some Seattle bats. They're really looking frisky tonight. Don't love that ballpark for offense at all. It's a great pitcher's park. That leads me to Logan Gilbert on the other side. Logan Gilbert with the Mariners stack is kind of interesting to me. 3.47 implied, 3.48 implied on the Braves. No Ronald Acuna for the Braves for right now. Grade 1 hamstring strain, so going to be out for the foreseeable future, but hopefully the best version of whatever injury he could have had. Didn't look great when he pulled up lame running to first base, but he'll be gone for a while. Gilbert, a little bit up and down for the season, but we know what the upside looks like. We know what the run limiting can look like. The underlying numbers are better than the surface level numbers. I like the looks of him in that spot against a diminished Braves team, 7.5 run total with them checked down where they are. And his bats going up against the rookie J.R. Ritchie. Kid's a top-end prospect. He's had a little bit of issues with home runs. He's given up 3 in the 2 starts, the 12 1/3. He faced the Tigers and the Nationals. Didn't pitch poorly. Struck out 7 against the Nats. Only gave up 2 earned runs on 5 hits, including 2 home runs over 7 innings in that one. 5 1/3 against the Tigers. 2 earned runs on 5 hits. Struck out 4, but walked 4. Gave up a home run in that one as well. I'm just seeing a little power upside for the Mariners, and some of those bats, maybe starting to connect. A lot of premium contact upside for some of the lefties lurking in that lineup at cheap prices as well. And then we round things out with the Padres and the Giants. It's Randy Vasquez against Trevor McDonald. Vasquez, 2 out of his last 3 haven't been great. 4 earned runs in 4 innings against the Mariners, 5 earned runs in 5 innings against the Cubbies. Sandwiched in between a 7-inning shutout start gave up 3 hits over 7 to the Rockies at Course. Struck out 5 in that one. Obviously, the upside's been there. We talked about the changed arsenal a little bit in just how he's changed up the pitch mix and found some additional effectiveness. That has been the case in most of his starts, but not 2 of the most recent 3. So you take some of the good with some of the bad. I think he's loosely playable against a very gettable Giant squad. And then Trevor McDonald, kind of a nothing option on the board here. I don't know that we're going to get a ton of depth, even if things go to plan, against a good enough Padres team that's pulling a 4.3 implied total. 8-run total in the game. I don't love that for offense, but I do think it's a playable spot on the Padres side at least. And we'll see some of that over here. Cujo says Belly's his home run pick today. Travis Wyndham's taking Kyle Tucker. Put them in the comments, not the chat. I don't know where it is on your screen. On my screen, it would be over there, not over there. The goal is to get a comments on the video. That feeds the algorithm more so than chat does. Not that I don't want the active chat. You can tell me who you're picking. I love the conversation. Love Belly's upside. Monster day for Belly the other day. I was at that game on Saturday. Killer day for him. Love Kyle Tucker in most situations, but sure, going back to Houston, a little added bump there. It's a ballpark he had found plenty of success in. So looking at the pitching slate, Logan Gilbert, top of my board, 8,600, 9,000, set apart a little bit as well from Cam Schlittler, from Yoshi Yamamoto. I would say the guys that I'm most intrigued by the separation is Cam Schlittler, the two high price guys, and a few spots further down, Jose Soriano, who, again, that's just kind of a normalized projection for Soriano. I didn't want to give him runaway credit for the great start. The pricing, I think, has kind of gotten away from us. He's a very, very good pitcher. Could find tons of success in that spot. I'm not saying he can't. The ceiling on that spot is tremendous. But I think it's reasonable to keep the median within some kind of fair expectation. And it's not just because it was the White Sox there. It's not at all because it was the White Sox that he faced in the last start where he gave up just 3 runs. It's not like it was even a bad start. I just think, especially with the price getting inflated, keeping that projection when it came up like that in check was kind of reasonable. Couple of usable options, though. Cam Schlittler, tremendous upside in that spot, just also very expensive. Can find Ks, but there's also some power in that Baltimore lineup. Homer-friendly environment. Baltimore's at least frisky, but Schlittler's been fantastic. No issues paying either price for it. And no issues, by the way, further down, we'll get back to him, paying either price for Soriano either. I absolutely like that pitcher. He's somebody we've been on for going back several years. Yamamoto against Houston, 99, 93. No issues with it. Just some bats we like on the Houston side. He can be a little bit lower strikeout than maybe the upside days for some of the other guys. But he also has the same kind of a ceiling. I just think maybe in the long term reaches a little bit less often. Fairly priced, 99, 93, not quite where Schlittler or where Soriano are. Already mentioned Cabrera. The one thing working against him, well, outside of his normal hiccups that he can run into with walks, just losing his poise, the conditions are not great in that game. If it plays, it's going to be a major hitter's environment like we were talking about a minute ago, but I think that's easily baked into the 8,900 and definitely baked into the 77. Monster upside spot on DraftKings. Absolutely the go-to SP2 option. That's a great looking SP2 at 77. At 89, I think the offset from the other top-end pitchers looks pretty terrific against the super gettable Cincinnati team with plenty of strikeout in it. They're a dangerous team. They've got power upside for sure. But there's enough for Cabrera there to have a very good day if the conditions, the luck cooperate a little bit, and he's able to continue wrangling the walks like we've seen in the last couple outings. Bybee, not a bad spot in the middle of the board at 82 on either site. Probably more in play. Well, no, it's fair to say he's pretty in play on both. I don't love targeting that Kansas City team. Even with their struggles this year, there are a lot of truly low strikeout bats and high upside bats in that lineup when they're going right. Also decent potential hitters conditions if that game plays, but another game threatened by rain. Bybee just been kind of middle of the board, right about where he's projected there in most of his outings. And there are a lot of guys to choose from in that range. Chad Patrick, similar option for a little bit less money on both sites. I think is a significant challenge to Tanner Bybee's upside here. It wouldn't be crazy to spread some shares toward Patrick. Davis Martin is different on both sides. 10-1 on FanDuel is a little bit of an overreaction to a very good start. And again, strikeouts have gone up. The stuff has been interesting. He's had some very, very successful outings, including 7 strikeouts in each of the last 2. But we're getting aggressive on FanDuel. DraftKings didn't react at all, and I think the 78 over there is kind of cheap. So just completely different proposition across site. Playable on both, but probably gets popular on DK for the strikeout upside in that game at that price. and maybe goes under-owned on FanDuel at 10-1 with, if you can get to that range, you're going to one of the bigger pitchers, you're going to Yamamoto for less, so on and so forth. Walking against the Guardians, it's not a bad target for a decent pitcher, but again, he's just been kind of middle of the road over the last handful of starts. But either Bobby or Waka or both could come through with a 2-3 run game, handful of strikeouts, and be perfectly serviceable at those numbers. They're not poorly projected. They're basically the same today from a point apart. Vasquez just depends on which version of him we get. We've seen both so far this season, but we've seen more of the downside guy over time. Shane Baz is kind of a tough ask at 8,000 on FanDuel at Yankee Stadium, 75 on DraftKings if you're throwing darts at value in a bunch of lineups, sure, but your path to success there is pretty limited, and you've got a bunch of other options in that range, so it feels like a Y kind of a spot. You can chase strikeout against the Yanks. Like I was saying before, it wouldn't knock me out of my chair if he was successful. So if you're building 10, maybe he gets into 2 of them, 1 or 2. That 2 would be aggressive if we're calling the raw percent, 20% across 150 would be a lot. But 2 out of 10 seems more reasonable for whatever reason. Leahy, just cheap against Milwaukee, but I see a lot of upside on the offense. Richie, I just kind of want to target at 96.85. Feels aggressive for a kid who's been all right and pitched deep into games in the show, but also unproven and not really finding massive success. McDonald will give a better look when we get to that game. The $4,000 price tag on DraftKings is at least something to talk about. We've seen that, spots where you don't have to be good. So we'll get back into that one. I would say compared to the other guys projected at 10, 11 points, it's got to be at least a playable dart to throw. If you got to get out of here for whatever reason, McDonald's down the stretch last season made 2 starts. 6 innings against the Dodgers, 3 strikeout game, but held them to 1 earned run on 6 hits. 7 innings against the Rockies, struck out 10, 3 unearned runs on 4 hits. He's made 4 starts in AAA this season, and then a 2 1/3 inning appearance. He only cracked 5 innings once. He finished the 5th inning in his most recent start against Colorado's affiliate. 5 innings, 2-hitter, no runs, struck out 3, walked 2. Had a 2 strikeout, 7 walk game. I gave up 4 earned runs on 3 hits over 3 innings to Seattle's affiliate the start before that. That's pitching as what is he? I believe he's 25. I want to say. Yeah, 25-year-old. So just getting here on time. Not special through the minors, though. I think he was like an 11th round pick. So I don't think there's anything overly special outside of that $4,000 price tag. But again, he doesn't really have to be good. And if he can get you through 5, maybe get you a win bonus. Petty, just not in that Wrigley situation. Doesn't feel like the right spot for the young kid. Weiss, if it's him, Okert is opening. I don't think you're going to, whoever it is, following Okert here against the Dodgers with a meaty 5-run total. Just doesn't feel like the spot. Let's jump into the game by game. I assume we don't have any lineups, but I'll hit the button. Say hi in the chat out there. If you're out there, hit the like button as we get started. Subscribe to the channel. Check out Rotoscouts.com. No lineups yet. Not even for those early games. You're playing those early games, by the way? For one, the Mets and Rockies game got moved up to 5:40. I think that was going to originally be on this slate. There are 3 games at 6:40. You get Tarek Skubal on that slate. I'm stunned that the sites didn't go early. You get Skubal on that slate. You got Aaron Nola, Peyton Toley going for the Red Sox. Eric Lauer against Nick Martinez is whatever for the Blue Jays and the Rays. Probably some upside in the Blue Jays offense. Just a 4-run total, but they're interesting. The guy that I think is really interesting, and if he's available in your fantasy leagues, maybe somebody to pick up, Jansen Junk. He gets the Phillies here. It's a dangerous team, and he gets the Nationals at the end of this week. 2-start week for him. Not a big strikeout guy, but if you look across Stuff Plus, Pitching Plus, Location Plus, he's top 20 Stuff Plus, top, 13 Location Plus, and 8th overall Pitching Plus. I might have those last two the wrong way around, but still, top 20 in one and top 15 across all qualified starters puts him in elite company as far as the makeup of his arsenal. Just doesn't find the strikeout, but he's been excellent at suppressing walks, excellent at suppressing contact. Really interesting starter. And Phil's and Nats, not the greatest targets in the world, but both teams underachieving against righties and underachieving in general so far this year. Just with all the contact he allows, could be some power on the board for Cody Bellinger, Bryce Harper. So buyer beware, but if you're playing that slate, I do think Jansen Junk might be a little bit sneaky interesting. Anyway, 355 implied total for the Orioles. Shane Baz on the bump, 75, 8,000. Striking out under 20% of his opponents so far, over 34 innings. Not that interesting, 9.4% swinging strike rate. 4.50 ERA, kind of right on the nose with the underlying numbers. Nothing special going on here. He was missing bats a little bit more effectively last year. 11.6% swinging strike, 25 essentially percent strikeout rate. Walked a few more hitters along the way last year. Gave up more premium contact last year. So that's where some of the upside that you can see visibly for the Yankees' power is coming from, certainly, outside of just it being those guys. So Baz, in some ways, has made some strides in his small sample here so far this year. I think there's reason to believe that he could have a successful day. Yanks do have plenty of strikeout. This same collection of hitters was 24.4% last year, 25% the year before, just around 22% right now. But plenty of targetable guys. It's just super high danger, and they're pulling a 5-run total with 3 guys above the magic number, another 2 guys in the 9s, one of the leading spots for power on the day. Yankees bats are kind of obvious. Baz, take him or leave him, but it's probably only a DraftKings option, if we're being honest. FanDuel's a total dice roll at 8,000. Schlittler, on the other hand, at 10, at 11. Again, dominant so far this year. 31.4% strikeouts against a 3.8% walk. 27.6 strikeout minus walk rate. Dominates the top of those boards as well. 112, 111, 119 across those 3 categories. Stuff plus, location plus, pitching plus. Just utterly elite arsenal. He's been ridiculous. 1.51 ERA, backed up by a 2.42 xFIP, 2.53 Sierra. Both a full run higher. He's probably not going to be sub 2 all year. But everything has been very real. He's been outstanding. Good enough target here. The O's striking out at a 23% clip right now. This version of the lineup, 24.6 last year, 26.1 for the guys in the league 2 years ago in mixed samples. So tons of upside here for Schlittler. But you do have dangerous hitters. Pete Alonso, a couple of home runs over the weekend, 6 on the board so far this season. He's been making great contact. A deadly good lefty bat atop the lineup with a bunch of power there. Some guys who have been up and down are just producing uncharacteristically, but not poorly. A couple of good, sneaky lefties down lineup. So it's not a bad overall lineup, depending on what the O's do. Could see Tyler O'Neill, but with the righty on the bump, maybe not. Certainly paying him too much to keep him on the bench regularly, but he's been in and out of the lineup a lot, gets hurt a lot. But Schlittler's an A+ option today. If we go to the O's against, I do think, getting it started with Gunnar Henderson. Sub 5 in the home run model. Only Alonso is above even halfway, Alonso and Taylor Ward above halfway to the magic number. But there's power upside for sure in Ward, in Alonso. Gunnar, a 10.9% barrel, 9 home runs on the season, 252 ISO. Concerning a little bit around the edges, of course, with a 209, 275 front end of that slash line. 31.4% strikeout could certainly feed the beast for Cam Schlittler a little bit. He's been underperforming for what we know his talent level is. Technically, if we're looking at his 320 weighted on base, which is exactly a league average, 304 expected. Technically, he's been overperforming. So maybe something's going on with Gunnar, but that is a big-time left-handed bat. Pricing not exactly down at 54, and definitely not with the way that FanDuel has been reacting to everything. Gunner's still 3,800. You figure it out. Taylor Ward at 44, 32, fairly priced. Again, a little bit different, I think, than what expectation was coming to this team. 1 home run on the board, but a 288, 423, 416 slash line right now. 384 matching ex-Woba and Woba. He's been tremendous for run creation, 143 WRC+. Just not hitting the home runs that we would expect from a guy with 13% barrel rates each of the last few years. Big time home run totals, 36 last year, 25 the year before. I think the power comes, but not the greatest pitcher in the world to target for it. In addition to how outstanding he's been up here, Schlittler just a 38.6% hard hit rate and a phenomenal 87.1 miles an hour of the exit velo on average. Just difficult to get a good piece of. Adley's having a real nice start to his year. 76 plate appearances, missed a little bit of time. 4 home runs on the board, a 342 on base, 146 WRC plus. You do have to note the 301 xWOB under that 388 actual. But he's been getting it done, really limiting strikeouts. He's not even drawing walks right now, 6.6% walk rate. So some of that on base, or most of that on base, is coming from success with BABIP. And I think that's where the hole in the xWOB is coming from, at least to a pretty significant degree. So something to watch there. But Adley's a guy who's drawn a fair walk rate, 11% last year, 9-1 the year before, 13-4 the year before that. So no reason to think that there's not a fair amount of additional upside to come from Adley if he's putting it all back together. Alonso, again, for just 47, 3,000 on FanDuel. Seems weird. 6 home runs. He's got an 11.1% barrel, 56.7% hard hit. Again, a couple home runs over the weekend, a 356 xWOBA lurking under the surface. He's just gotten a little bit affordable. Crucial bat if you're going to this team. Sammy Basayo at 39.29, a very affordable option at catcher. Another key bat. Getting those lefties in at Yankee Stadium is a big part of why you would go to a team like this and just hope for the upside for a little bit of power to sneak through. 9.5% barrel, 46% hard hit from a $3,900 catcher, hitting in the heart of the order behind guys who know how to get on base. You can see the upside, but it is, again, a pitcher who prevents basically all of that. Dylan Beavers would be the same argument, 33 in the outfield. Lodi Taveras, more of a mix and match guy, can steal you a base, hits the occasional home run, gets on base, relatively low strikeout in some of his years, 21.2, 21.1 back in 24 and 23. That was elevated last year in a mixed sample. So far this year, he's got it under control. Not really a threat to Cam Schlittler, just kind of a mix and match piece. Kobe Mayo, Jeremiah Jackson down lineup. Jackson, good start to his season with 6 home runs on the board. 259, 277, 454, kind of all over the place in the slash line. Just a 300 xWOBA under what's already a below average 318 actual, 99 WRC plus. So kind of crashing. A little bit of strikeout there, not a lot of walk. Pretty good target for Cam Schlittler. On the Yanks side, this looks basically like the version of the lineup that we're likely to see. Grisham, a couple good pieces of contact. 14.1% barrel rate, 51.8% hard hit that he's turned into 5 home runs. Had a good day over the weekend, if I'm remembering correctly. 162, 297, 352, not exactly caught up in the slash line. 190 ISO, though, a 365 xWOBA. Monstrous, lurking under the surface of that 296 actual. Everything about Trent Grisham's slash line, his traditional stats, should climb, just given the contact. As long as he continues doing what he's doing. Right now, he's striking out less, walking more than he did last year in last year's breakout season. He's priced all the way down at 3,700, 2,900. Makes it much easier to access the top of this Yankees lineup. It's a tremendous piece. Ben Rice at 6 at 44 continues to rival Aaron Judge for pricing, exceed Aaron Judge for pricing on most slates this year so far on FanDuel, which is wild, but you can't argue that it's not earned. 343, 455, 759 start to his year. Everything looking pretty real. 504 WOBA is ridiculous. 460 xWOBA, though. Grading runs 124% better than the average player. Aaron Judge, just 80% better so far this year. 439 WOBA with a 455 underlying. 13 home runs on the board for Judgy. 27.5% barrel, 55% hard hit. I mean, you know, you look at the stacks board sometime, which, by the way, stacks board, there it is. Yanks rank second by points on FanDuel, third by value, third and second on DraftKings, second by home runs, third by Vegas total, exceeded by the Cubs and the Dodgers with their higher totals. Not that Vegas total dictates the entire thing, but you know, you can look at the stacks board day after day after day and wonder, the Dodgers, the Yankees, they're always up there, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is why. These monsters that they have in these lineups that create these high-impact fantasy events. And then they're just filled out top to bottom. Teams like the Yanks, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the big market teams. I've talked about this before, just more so than even the Orioles on the other side. Not exactly a small market, but the lineups tend to dwindle around 7, 8, 9, where teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, they really don't. These 9-man lineups, they just create more upside in the overall average. Cody Bellinger, just 49-32, seems like a bargain. 5 home runs, 4 stolen bases on the year, getting on at a 373 clip, creating runs 39% better than average by WRC+, making good, not great contact, but that's usual for Cody Bellinger. Low strikeout, high walk, excellent option for creating runs, excellent option for fantasy. Outfield and first base eligible is dynamite on FanDuel because you can move around the board a lot on that site. Really like the upside from the left side for Cody against this pitcher. Just poke one into the right field stands and continue doing what he's been doing. 275, 373, 483. Tremendous slash line for the former MVP. Jazz Chisholm from the left side. Jazz is starting to make better contact. He's up to 212, 299, 331, 3 home runs, 9 stolen bases. We're starting to slowly come around. It's not really truly showing through the line yet, but I've seen it with my own eyes. He is making better contact. He is a little bit more engaged. So you just hang on. The price has gotten really cheap at $42.29, especially FanDuel. You can move between second and third. Again, the flexibility that they're providing for the Yankees on FanDuel is tremendous. Jason Dominguez at 33-24, one good game over the weekend, did his first home run of the season, 278, 316, 556, always an adventure for him in the outfield, but the bat is very real. Austin Wells, cheap lefty contact in Yankee Stadium, home run upside, that's all you're really looking for at 2,600 from the catcher on DraftKings. 25, just a moving part on FanDuel. Ryan McMahon at 23-24 is another useful guy in this lineup, just having that super cheap regular bat who is a multiple-time former 20 home run hitter who has had a decent season for contact following a pretty good season for contact last year. 11.5% barrel, 53.8% hard hit. Say what you will about the 90 plate appearances results-wise, and they've been atrocious. The contact is very real when he connects. Another lefty bat in Yankee Stadium, teeing off against a middle-of-the-road righty. Plenty of upside for a cheap Ryan McMahon to get into lineups. Jose Caballero gets on base, steals your bag, and plays 4 positions on FanDuel. Just a shortstop on DraftKings. You can do better filling shortstop, but you do get correlated scoring upside with a little bit of bonus from Caballero. He's even hit 4 home runs this year, driving the ball a little bit effectively. Cam Schlittler, Yankees bats, Orioles bats, Shane Baz. Don't think much of Shane Baz, if you couldn't tell. Quiet day in chat so far. A bunch of people here hanging out, meandering our way through the beginning of this show. Started early. Feel like we got plenty of time. We'll get through it. Tanner Bybee, Michael Wacha, as mentioned, just kind of middle of the road starters. Again, we've got rain to worry about in this game, but if it clears, if this game plays, definitely upside with a 4.66 and a 4.43 implied total. One of the better spots of the day on both sides for offense. Either one of these guys, though, could go out and just be their normal selves. Have a good day against these squads. 3.13 ERA on the board for Michael Wacha, 22.3% strikeout, but walking too many at a 9.5% walk. Let's put some guys on base. 4.42 xFIP, 4.36 Sierra. The underlying numbers a little bit maybe concerning about Wacha. Typically works deep into starts, though. 172 and 2/3 in 31 outings. Last year, just a 17.6% strikeout. 3.86 ERA, but a 4.56 xFIP, 4.61 Sierra. So you could see this and just say that that's who he is. He tends to defy the expected numbers, put guys on base, but get through it. But he wasn't walking nearly as many last year. That is a little bit of an uptick in just 6 starts. He has found more swinging strikes so far this year and certainly more strikeout rate overall. So there is a little bit of good in there, a little bit of premium contact on the board this year. It's a gettable Guardians lineup, but not one that comes with a ton of strikeout. It's more about run suppression. They've also been held down just by elite defense all season long. Somebody was tweeting that out the other day, and it was absurd, the level of just run prevention that has happened against the Cleveland Guardians this season so far. The Royals could certainly continue that trend. Some very good defenders on this team, but that's not what we're talking about. I do think you go to Guardians bats, 4.43 implied, but Walker remains playable, 83.92 on FanDuel is a little bit difficult to justify given the way the pitching board is shaped. Given the option to just grab Tanner Bybee from the other side at 82 with essentially the same projection, slightly higher. He's going up against a Royals team that's striking out at a 24% clip this year. Same collection of hitters in fair samples last year was just 17.8%. 21.9, but some small sample, a couple missing pieces the year before that. The guys who were in the lineup up top, the regulars, all elite low strikeouts that year as well. So it's a weird little bit of a blip at 24%. I don't think that's their true number. Not a great target for Bybee when he's coming in with just around the league average 21% strikeout against a 9.2% walk, a little bit too much on the walk rate. 4.08 ERA, right around 4x FIP Sierra. Too many guys on base, too much opportunity, giving up a little premium contact as well. The barrel rate's been fine. The launch angle's not problematic, but that's a lot of hard hit for a guy that's more, at least a line drive type trajectory. 91.7 miles an hour of exit velos, aggressive. If one of these guys gets into one, gets under one, and we've got some true home run hitters on this team, could get problematic for Bybee on the wrong day for contact on a day where the wind's blowing out. It looks like a good day for hitting in KC. So again, same deal, playable, but don't love the option with this just looking like more of a spot for offense. If you're looking Guardian, Steven Kwan, difficult up top right now. 319 on base, 224, 319, 288. We're not looking for him for slug, but we're definitely looking to get there for correlated scoring, just be on base. Not succeeding via BABIP at all, and the 319 on base is coming with an 11% walk rate, so it's not like we're going to make many gains there. That is a gain already for him. I don't know if he's able to sustain that, and he's clearly not finding the success with BABIP right now. He's lost a little bit of barrel, a little bit of hard hit, certainly. Bad pieces of contact so far this season. We've seen too much from him over time, succeeding with just putting bat on ball, but this is a brutal stretch. Kind of miscast right now in the leadoff spot. Chase DeLauder, 6 home runs on the board. Those came in a big hurry at the beginning of the season. When was the last time he hit one? Oh, he hit one yesterday. I missed that. That was his first since April 3rd. So it's not that I was misleading you. It's just that I missed that he hit one yesterday. So back on the board, his 6th of the year. But what I was going to say is he's been really good other than the power. He really got on everybody's radar for that power outburst. But over 130 plate appearances deep now. We're at 304, 392, 554. 412 WOBA with a 374 underlying, 162 WRC plus. Average contact, but an excellent low 10.8% strikeout rate against a tremendous 13.1% walk rate. There's a lot to like about Chase DeLauder, and it's not necessarily just home run power. 4,200 on DraftKings, he's gotten downright cheap. 3,100, perfectly fair on FanDuel. 6.60, I think, is realistic in the home run model. Jose Ramirez, just a superstar. 9.15 in the home run model, fairly priced at $59.37. He's expensive, but he's Jose Ramirez. 6 home runs, 13 steals, a 340 on base, creating runs at a 10% above average clip, but a 380 xWOBA suggests that we should have some more to come, and we know that's expectation. Kyle Manzardo's gotten really cheap. He was scuffling. He was out of the lineup for a few days. Hit a home run over the weekend as a pinch hitter in the game that came against the lefty out in Sutter in Sacramento. A lot of power from the left side, 11.5% barrel, 43.8% hard hit last year. The barrels are way down. The hard hits are down even further. He's striking out too much. He's drawing around the same kind of a walk rate, but it's been ineffective against the increased strikes. Just been kind of going through it, right at the Mendoza line, 200, 280, 284, 62 WRC plus. It's been difficult, but I don't see going to this team and not using Kyle Manzardo against Michael Wacha here in a hopefully hitter-friendly day. 8.49 in the home run model. You're just hoping that he continues to find it, put together some good batted ball events. He's gotten very cheap, so he is playable. First base, not a terrible spot, just to homer hunt. Daniel Schneemann, playable for premium contact upside. Kind of sneaky, 298, 366, 524 start to his year. Creating runs at a 147 pace via WRC plus. He's made good contact over time. Solid barrels and hard hit rate last year. Okay the year before in terms of the hard hits, but the barrels weren't there. Last season, it amounted to a dozen home runs, but the slash line was light. 206, 283, 354, 280, 297 WOBA and xWOBA. So a lot of downside to point to, but it's not like he's expensive. Third base and outfield eligible. On FanDuel at 3,000, that's a little bit more than I'd want to pay, but it's offset by the Manzardo price. It's offset by Steven Kwan if you're going in that direction. Petey Halpin, dead min price on both sites, 0 for 5 so far. I got to say, I don't know much about Petey Halpin. Petey is, I'm sorry, I can't take you seriously if you're a 24-year-old and your name is Petey. 2 home runs in 128 AAA plate appearances so far this year as a 24-year-old. 9 stolen bases, a 253, 28, 375 slash line, and 87 WRC plus. Last season as a 23-year-old in 553 plate appearances, all in AAA, 14 homers, 15 steals. Mediocre slash, 95 WRC plus. A lot of strikeout, 28.2 against the 9.2% walk. Nothing special. 3rd round pick. Perfectly fine because he's mid-priced in your outfield. If you're going to this team, that's just a building block if he's in the lineup. But certainly doesn't look like anything more than a quad A player, just another outfielder type. Bo Naylor, you're just hoping for one good piece of contact. Throwing darts. Austin Wells is a better option at similar pricing if you're doing that. Brian Rocchio just here for defense. On the Royals side, super playable total. Team has disappointed time and time again in stacks this year. But it might work for us. Michael Garcia at 4,300, 3,000, fairly cheap. 270, 333, 429, coming off a great year last year. 108 WRC plus, just looking like Michael Garcia out there. Excellent option for contact, just putting a few balls in play and finding out what happens, and he creates a little bit of havoc out there. Bobby Witt's a great way to fill shortstop, and he's gotten real cheap at 3,400 on FanDuel. I do believe that's actually gone up from where he was a couple days ago. 61 on DraftKings is the correct price. He should be a $4,000 shortstop most of the time on FanDuel. Pair of home runs, 10 stolen bases, getting on at a 357 clip. I'm not exactly sure why he has gotten so cheap. 108 WRC plus, a 373 xWOBA under the surface. Vinny, I at least get why he's priced down at 188, 283, 350 for the season, a 72 WRC plus. We saw this exact same thing from him last year. I think he figures it out. He's drawing walks at 11.6%. He's striking out more, but it's not like it's a problem at 21%. It's just up in a small sample. And again, it was exactly the same situation last year. So I think we're going to be fine with Vinny. You do go there if you're going to this Royals team. He's also cheap at 41.28. They're easy to put together. You could also go around that, though. If you're playing the FanDuel slate, you've got other options at that catcher first base spot that you can bounce between there and util. You've got many guys in this lineup that are multi-position to move around the board as well. And there's upside. Sal Perez has clear upside in those positions. 2,700 on FanDuel, 36 where you have to play catchers. 5 home runs on the board for Sal on the season, and otherwise pretty poor start, but making decent contact. Not good for him, but still decent contact with upside. Carter Jensen has made better contact. He's a little bit more expensive. He's got 6 home runs on the board. Inconsistent, but a big-time lefty bat that most of what we've seen, most of the upside that he's flashed is pretty real. Jack Caglianone, tremendous. 255, 336, 418. Pretty good slash line over 110 plate appearances. 109 WRC plus. Solid weighted on base and xWOBA. Tremendous contact so far. That is kind of undersold by the performance, by the output. With this in his pocket, there's a lot more to come. And if he can get strikeout back down to anything like that 22% rate that he was at, this is working right now at a 30.9% rate. That's where the upside is going to come from. Just those additional events. Just take half of the difference between that. Give me 4 or 5 points back of strikeout rate there. You don't even have to go all the way down. Give me half of those opportunities at a batted ball event, and that's where I'll get my upside. So it's right there for Jack Caglianone. He's 33.27. Super fair pricing on a big-time upside bat against a righty who is, again, allowing a 48.6% hard hit, a 91.7 mile an hour average exit velocity so far this season. That's a good spot. Isaac Collins, playable, 25-27, mix and match kind of a piece. Michael Massey does make decent contact from time to time. Difficult to see in the overall, but he can get into one from the left side for a cheap price at second base. Off to a very poor start over 67 plate appearances. Kyle Isbell was off to a decent start. He's at 289, 352, 446 on the year. Not bad. 357 weighted on base right now, but a 310 underlying tells us where the actual performance is going to trend, and that's downward. Where do we have it on the stacked board? I think it's Royals above, right? Yeah, Royals 6 by points, 5th by value on FanDuel, 5th by projection, 7th by value on DraftKings, 4th on your Vegas board, but 10th in the home run model against Tanner Bybee. A little bit of a long memory there. Guardians further down the board, 10th by projection on both sides, but an interesting piece of value. 6th by value, 4th by value, 6th in the Vegas rankings against Waka. I think both rankings do reflect a little bit of the quality of those two pitchers. 3-4 starters, somewhere in that territory. Each guy's what, a B, borderline B plus. Talk to me, gang. It's quiet out there. I can sit here and talk to myself all day, obviously. Certainly been doing it for almost an hour now already. Wow. Almost an hour into the show. Welcome to game 3. This is the one that we need just to have a clear day as far as the rain goes. If this game plays, there's your upside. That's your obvious chalk of the day. We saw it just 2 days ago. Was that yesterday? 2 days ago? Whenever it was. The game went off. Cubs went off. 8-run total, I believe. Plenty of power showing. Wind blowing out to right center field at gusting is 17 mile an hour sustained with gusts beyond that, I believe, right now. Just need the rain to hold off. Nearly a 7-run total showing for the Cubbies. They're going up against Chase Petty. Petty making his first start of the season. Not his first start in the show. He did make 3 appearances last year. 2 starts on the at the beginning of the season, 30th of April and the 11th of May. Went 2 1/3, gave up 9 earned runs to the Cardinals. Last year's Cardinals, not a great squad. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 home runs, 9 earned runs on 7 hits. Faced the Astros a few weeks later, 3 innings, 4 earned runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, 6 walks, gave up a home run, and then just made a relief appearance, 2/3 of an inning against the Cardinals later in the season. In the minors, he made 26 starts in AAA, 112 innings, had a 6.39 ERA and a 4.97 xFIP last year. The season before, across AA and AAA, mostly AA though, 26 of the 28 starts at AA, 4.39 ERA, 3.80 xFIP. Not a bad season, but a fairly low strikeout, average-ish kind of a strikeout rate against an average-ish kind of a walk rate. Doesn't look like there's a lot special going on, but might also just need a little bit of additional seasoning. He's only just 23. So just maybe needs to figure it out. Former first-round pick of the Twins, I believe. Back into the first round. I think it was the Twins. Yeah, 26th overall pick in 2021 by the Minnesota Twins. Part of the Sonny Gray trade once upon a time. So 68 with the Cubbies showing all that offense, I really don't think so. And just given the downside that he had against minor league hitters in recent history, I think there's plenty of upside for the Cubs. Going the other direction, ECAB 77.89, differently priced, definitely an asset here, but very playable here. My hope is maybe the 89 people just kind of steer around it for cheaper or more expensive options. He's just kind of solidly in the middle. Projects out pretty strongly and competitively with the top of the board against a Cincinnati team that comes in with a projected lineup at a 23.1% strikeout rate. A lot of these guys drawing walks, some in small sample. Last year it was 25.9 with a 9.2, year before 24.5 for the guys that were in the league. So there's plenty of realistic strikeout upside here. Cabrera this year, 20.1% strikeout rate, but that has climbed. He was under 20% by a couple percentage points 2 starts ago. So he picked it up a little bit. He's up to a 12.4% swinging strike rate additionally, which is nice to see. He's got a 3.06 ERA, but an underlying 4.06 xFIP, 4.28 SIERA. I think around a high threes, 4-run type pitcher should be expectation. He's given up some premium contact, but it hasn't really damaged him so far this year. It's where some of the underlying stuff would find some additional runs. Last season, he found a 25.5% strikeout rate. That was in line with previous years. But what he did that was special was he brought the walks down. 12% year before last, down to 7.7 last year. That's at 8.3 right now. He had been higher in the walks department over the first few starts of the year. Last few outings, last time out, 5 2/3, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. 7 innings against Philly, the start before that, 5 strikeouts, no walk. Give up 2 home runs, 3 earned runs on 5 runs total on 6 hits. Not the best of outings, but not a total meltdown either. 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 5 walks. Those were your problem starts. So assuming the last 2 starts are just indicative of him just kind of getting into game shape, putting it back together after, going into his 7th start here, I like the upside to continue for Cabrera. There's a chance that he brings down the underlying numbers somewhat. Last year, he was a 3.66 ERA with nearly matching xFIP and Sierra. Had a 12.5% swinging strike rate. A lot of these other things are kind of in line. Wouldn't completely shock me if he continued to find success. But at these prices today in this matchup, as long as he doesn't fall victim to his own walks or the weather, conditions, again, very much favoring hitting, 4.77 implied total for the opposing team with some power showing. I do like his upside to succeed. Find some Ks. Going to Reds bats, not a terrible idea. I do think if you're rostering more than a handful of Cabrera, it would be a good idea to have some Reds hedge stacks. TJ Friedel, not a bad way to get it started, 35-27. 203, 282, 305 right now with 2 home runs, 4 stolen bases, and a 63 WRC+, but we know he's better than that. 14 homers, 12 steals last year. Got on at a 364 clip, most importantly. That's why you would want him in the leadoff spot. 109 WRC+. Did have only a 303 xWOBA under the 333 actual, so maybe some normalizing back towards expectation, but this would be an over-normalization toward a just terrible player. I think the truth may be somewhere in the middle, but a guy who could easily fill counting stats, get on base ahead of the bats that you would want. JJ Bleday has been tremendous in his 20 plate appearances so far. 2 home runs, been making great contact up there. It's a solid player, not a star by any means, but a good lefty bat who comes really cheap, 2,200, 3,600. Him and Will Benson will eventually be, bouncing in and out of the lineup against one another with whoever's, hot hand kind of approach. But right now in this projected version of the lineup, they're both in there. Benson a few spots later in the 7 spot, 12.5% barrel in his small sample of 57 plate appearances. Typically low end slash line 184, 298, 388, pair of home runs. We're just looking for either one of those guys to make very good contact. But overall, between the two, Bleday is probably the more reliable guy, the guy we've seen more frequently get on base in his major league sample. Ellie De La Cruz is a superstar, playing like it. Phil stats, 142 WRC plus on the season. Unquestioned top priority bat in this lineup. Sal Stewart will be your number 2. 9 home runs, 7 stolen bases for Sal, a 340 on base, 128 WRC plus, an elite 392 xWOBA under an excellent 368 actual, 18.4% barrel, showing the best power upside on this team right now. Number 1, number 2 option in any order. Nathaniel Lowe's been terrific as well for this team since joining it. 5 home runs in 69 plate appearances. Flashing the upside, 14.6% barrel, 52.1% hard hit, remains cheap. The one thing about it is he's a blocker to Sal Stewart on DraftKings. You can't have them both, which sucks because you would definitely want the power upside of both those hitters. Nathaniel Lowe, when he's going right, also gets on base like crazy. 348 on base right now. We've seen the average and the on base decline over the last couple of seasons for him. The power output decline, his ability to stay on the field as well. But when he's healthy, and if he's going right, that is an upside bat who's intriguing, 20 home run type power with good ability to create runs. Would be in a part of stacks on FanDuel. I would say that's probably your number 3 priority bat. And then just one of the outfielders. Spencer Steer, a little bit of premium contact upside from him too. 17.1% barrel in a small sample, 5 home runs on the board. This team's got power. They can easily exploit the wind going out to right as well. Tyler Stevenson, cheap catcher with tons of premium contact upside. 14.5% barrel, 54.5% hard hit on the season. Similar to previous season's numbers. Underappreciated bat. 2 home runs on the board in 93 plate appearances. Terrible slash line, a 67 WRC plus, but a 343 xWOBA under his 278 actual. We know the quality's there. He had 13 home runs and 342 chances last year. Was adequate. 99 WRC plus, just missed being an average run creator, but you're just looking for that one cheap piece of contact. There are several options. Again, Austin Wells is one of those. Tyler Stevenson is definitely one of those in this game. Less so on the other side, Miguel Amaya, but Moises Ballesteros hitting second is only 3,700 on the other side of this game. So there are definitely affordable catchers on the DraftKings slate. Going over to I shouldn't jump ship yet. Matt McClain. Ugly season so far, 2 home runs, 5 steals, 71 WRC plus. Really needs to put it back together. To his credit, he's at least drawing a 12.6% walk rate. That's kind of keeping him afloat. 308 on base isn't good, but it would be worse if he wasn't doing that. No success with the bat so far. Lightly playable piece, but he has gotten very cheap for what the multi-category skill set actually is. On the Cubs side, you want every piece of that total. I think getting this team in creative ways would pay dividends. Utilizing guys down lineup like Dansby Swanson, who people tend to sleep on, I think is crucial to rostering this team in, maybe slightly different ways today. Going to a lineup certainly where you take a big shortstop from another team and then on FanDuel double it up with Dansby in the util spot would be again, increasingly unique approach. People hand building typically not going to utilize Dansby if they've already got another shortstop in there. And he's got major upside. 12.2% barrel, 48.8% hard hit down there in the 7 spot in this lineup. 995 just missing being the 5th man in this lineup above the magic number. Basically everybody in front of him with the ability to get on base. There's no reason to expect that he couldn't come up in a big run creation situation. He's hit 6 home runs already this season, getting on at a 338 clip, 114 WRC plus on the year. He's got a 353 xWOB under this 338 actual. He's been a tremendous hitter for years now. And he's always underappreciated. 32 on FanDuel is fine. 37 on DraftKings is cheap. And again, getting him into lineups, I do think is a point of differentiation with this team, even on that DraftKings slate. Up at the top, more obvious guy, Nico Horner, 4,800, 3,700, perfectly fair. 301, 375, 466 start to his year, a 138 WRC plus. It's been terrific. 4 home runs, 7 stolen bases, a little power, a little bit of everything with Nico. Putting him ahead of any of the power bats that follow, great idea, especially with all the upside showing for Vegas total for the weather in this game. Moises, 11.8% barrel. He's only 3,700 on DraftKings. 6 homers, a 171 WRC plus. He's 2,900 on FanDuel, where you don't need the catcher. Maybe that's why they haven't changed it. They also didn't give him catcher / first base. Like it matters. It's so weird what they do. He's 317, 380, 598, a 280 ISO, 357 xWOBA. Why isn't this kid like $4,000 FanDuel with your reactionary pricing? Alex Bregman at 39.28 across sites. Totally affordable. Still doing Alex Bregman things. The contact looks almost exactly like it has over the past few years. Very low strikeout, just like he's been over the last few years. Drawn a double-digit walk rate like he did last year, 2 out of the last 3 years. That just looks like Alex Bregman. 11.78 in the home run model. He'll get there. Going up against a kid who is very gettable. Quad A type pitcher, at least right now. Ian Happ, 10.95 in the home run model. 13 and change on Seiya Suzuki. 13 and change on Michael Busch. Tons of power upside showing. All of these guys have an elite ability to make contact, barrel the baseball. Any combination of this middle stretch of hitters, major upside. I think Michael Busch, given the $3,400 price tag, the 27 on FanDuel, despite scuffling through 145 plate appearances, probably the top priority just for the pricing, but he probably also gets very popular. Suzuki, Happ, back and forth. Happ's making fantastic contact right now. He's also always been an asset for on base for run creation. 381 on base, a 150 WRC plus over 147. But Suzuki's right there with him. 402 on base, 370 xWOB, 160 WRC plus. 2 tremendous pieces in a go-to lineup. All 3 of those guys going to be absurdly popular. PCA, 4,700 on DraftKings, a little pricey, 2,800 on FanDuel. It was fair. 7.42 in the home run model. He is scuffling. 236, 302, 354. Needs to find it. At least the defense keeps him in the lineup. He has made okay contact. 46.1% hard hit rate, maybe something to chase. That's up over the last couple seasons totals wise and reflective of, his best days last year. The barrels are still way down compared to the overall, but they're kind of in line with where they were a couple years ago. He has just been all over the map. Playable piece, probably a little unpopular on DraftKings anyway at that price tag, or a little less popular. I do think there are still perceptions of him as a superstar out there, though. Certainly paid like it. Miguel Amaya, bottom of the lineup, mix and match piece at catcher. Cubs bats. I think I got to say Reds bats, even though I do want to play Cubs runner. Yeah, they're 4th on 4-4, 4-3, 5th by Vegas total. So we'll go Cubs, Reds, ECAB, and wouldn't play Petty here. And we just cross our fingers that game plays. Whoops. I got your attention. Now what? It says definitely quiet. Good afternoon. What's going on? Pop your home run pick of the day into the comments, not in the chat. In the comments, you can drop it in the chat as well if you want to talk about it. I'll go through there. If you get it right, I'll toss you a free week if you're not a subscriber. If you are a subscriber, I'll toss you a hearty congratulations, pat on the back. Don't take my pick. We'll get to my pick. It's not for a while yet. Brewers 4-3-4 implied. Cards 4-2-5 on the other side. Again, gettable spot for offense. So far this season, Chad Patrick pretty mediocre with a 14% strikeout rate, 11.4% walk rate, 2.57 ERA. He's just getting away with stuff right now. 5.54 xFIP, 5.57 SIERA are the true numbers for how he's been pitching thus far. Last season, significantly better than those marks though. 3.56 ERA, a 4 xFIP, 3.92 SIERA, 25.1% strikeout, 7.8% walk. That's okay. 17.23 strikeout minus walk rate. Good, not great righty, serviceable fourth starter type with a little bit of strikeout upside against the right team. This team, as we've seen, does have strikeout on the back end. It wouldn't stun me if in 5 innings today, Chad Patrick saw a handful of strikeouts, found a little bit of success, and definitely realigned those numbers a little bit. But he's by no means a go-to option. He kind of did that in his last outing. That was against the Diamondbacks. Went 5, 2 earned runs, 1 hit them over 20 hitters. Struck out 5, but he walked 5. A little problematic there. That's where that inflated walk rate comes from. The other starts were more manageable. He's walked a couple few hitters in most of his starts, but most of his outings, 4 starts, 2 outings in bulk relief. In 3 of those, he only walked 1, multiple innings pitched. He's got the 5-walk game, a 2-walk game, and a 3-walk game otherwise. So again, while it's inflated, and while it looks terrible next to that strikeout rate, it's just small sample stuff happening right there. It's nothing to be completely concerned about from a guy who was perfectly fine in that department last year. Definitely playable at 72. More of a priority on the DraftKings slate as an SP2. Just a guy at 77 on FanDuel, but could find some success. Could get into the 30s with a little bit of a bump for a potential win. Quality start, maybe a little bit more in doubt. 6 2/3 was his deepest start of the year. He did that on tax day. That was the only start in which he's pitched beyond the 5th inning. He's completed the 5th twice. Again, 2 of those outings were in bulk relief. Kyle Leahy on the other side at 63-73, coming in with a 16.4% strikeout against an 8.2% walk. Those numbers don't align all that well. It's not crazy problematic, but it's too high and definitely too high against a low strikeout rate. 7.6% swinging, so we're just talking about a contact-focused pitcher. He is keeping the ball down successfully. 4.8 degree average launch is crucial for him, but a 4.48% home run. He's gotten some barrels, so the mistakes are getting out in a big way with exit velocity, with premium contact, 11.1% barrel rate so far, 4.48% home run. That seems pretty real. 419 xFIP, 4.40 SIERA, probably a little bit more true than that 5.52 ERA, but some problems along the way with premium contact derived from the amount of contact he allows. Did strike out 7 against the Pirates in a little bit of a blip, but that's a heavy strikeout team. Start before that, 2 strikeouts, gave up 4 earned. That was a 2 home run day against the Pirates. Didn't give up a homer, but 4 earned runs on 8 hits to the Marlins in that 2 strikeout game. A 3 home run day allowed to the Astros. 6 strikeouts that day, but 3 home runs is problematic. Those were the only 3 earned runs. 5 hits over 5 innings. Up and down guy who's going to at least allow these Brewers to do their thing out there, make contact, and if he's putting them on via the walk as well, just feeds the machine for exactly what these Brewers are looking to do. So don't love that setup for him. 4.34 implied total, bigger believer in the Brewers side of it. 37-31 for Garrett Mitchell in the top spot, not bad. Just 1 home run, 5 steals, but getting on at a 381 clip is interesting. The xWOBA, the WOBA perfectly aligned at 339, well above average. And what I'm super interested in is the cheap lefty premium contact against a pitcher who's going to allow it. He's going to allow many pieces of contact. They will be of high quality here, and they would be of high quality there. So that's a really good setup for Garrett Mitchell. 37-31 leading off in this projected version of the lineup. But from anywhere in the lineup, if he's hitting 5, 6, 7, anywhere in that territory, I like the upside for a little bit of power, getting on base, resetting the table for guys that follow. Not a bad option from anywhere up and down, but ideally he leads off. Bryce Terang at 56.41 has been their best player. 4 home runs, 7 steals on 428 on bases. Elite 160 WRC plus. Excellent option at second base any way you slice it. William Contreras, very playable at catcher. 43.1% hard hit. Barrels are around where he was last year, but the hard hits are slightly down. That's still a decent number though. But overall, the premium contact has been diminished over the last few seasons. He's made up for it, though, with volume of contact, still getting his walks and getting on base. But the strikeouts are down, and they've been progressively down over the last couple seasons. 298, 370, 427, still a fantastic slash line. 353, 351 weighted on base in xwOBA. Jake Bauers at 44.32, still very fairly priced for the upside. Multi-category contributor, 5 home runs, 3 steals already on the season. Guy who just fills those stats. He can run, and people don't give him credit for it. Also makes very, very good contact from the left side. Continuing that trend so far this year in the small sample, 123 plate appearances, but a go-to bat if you're going to this lineup, and a guy that I do think people sleep on. Luis Renifa, just a mix and match player, multi-position for a cheap price on FanDuel. Off to a terrible start, over 108 plate appearances. I didn't realize he was up to 108 plate appearances already. That's a really poor start. 286 xwOBA, not really giving us anything to cling to. 44 WRC plus. Tyler Black, Sal Frelick, Blake Perkins, David Hamilton. The back end of this lineup continues to leave a little bit to be desired. We know that Sal Frelick's better than his 121 plate appearances so far this year. We like to think Blake Perkins is. We've seen flashes of it from time to time. 53 pretty terrible plate appearances to start this season. Hamilton hit a few balls squarely early on, but he's already down at a 2.9% barrel, 26.5% hard hit, so that trend didn't last. 7 stolen bases, getting on at a 351 clip still, so maybe a little upside there. Low strikeout, decent walk rate. As a wraparound guy, it's not the worst option in the world as long as you're putting him at 3rd on DraftKings for 32, 2nd on FanDuel for 28. I don't want to occupy shortstop with David Hamilton. Card side of things, 425 implied, definitely playable total. Scooble scratched. Are you kidding? That's not good. What happened? You fall down coming out of the clubhouse? Is it just the weather? It's a bad weather game there, too. That's bad news for the Dynasty team. That game not on this slate, so we don't have to worry about it here. But hold on one quick second there. Son of a bitch. Undisclosed injury. Last time out was seen rubbing his left elbow during the outing. That's not good. Fuck. All right. We'll deal with that after the show. It's only 2:16. We'll have time. Not great. Let's see if there's any buzz. Scooble being scratched from tonight's game, but it is being seen as a precautionary move. Not great. All right, let's get back into this. Appreciate the heads up, Clintwood. Not great. Meech likes Ballesteros is his home run pick of the day. I should have said no going to that Cubs game. It's a launching pad today if that game plays. On the card side of this one, JJ Weatherhold at 5,000, 3,700. Fairly priced. He's been off to a good start with 7 home runs on the board, a 200 ISO, 359 xwOBA, 126 WRC plus. Making good contact. High-end guy filling out second base with him. Not a bad option on either site. I prefer him at second to short, but he's entirely playable at shortstop if you're going that direction on FanDuel. Ivan Herrera, 4,100 on DraftKings. Cheap where you have to play the position. Might as well. 8.3% barrel, 46.9% hard hit, following up a successful year last year for premium contact. 4 home runs, getting on base at a 417 clip. Carrying a 384 xwOBA, 140 WRC plus. What's not to like? Don't really understand why he's so cheap where you need the position. 3,200, I don't get with FanDuel the way they do things, why he's not 3,800 or so over there. Alec Burleson's made great contact to start the year. He's carrying a 279, 361, 465 slash line. Definitely been effective. A little bit underperformance cooked in there, though. 361 weighted on base is great. He's got a 397 xwOBA under that. major source of premium contact from the left side so far. Only 45 at first base, not bad. 3,200 with outfield eligibility on FanDuel makes him even more usable. Filling out outfield with just, an above average bat like that while reserving that first base slot for a bigger option, that is a great way to go. Jordan Walker, been tremendous, 53, 4,000, 10 home runs, 6 steals, 168 WRC plus, supported by a 417 WOBA with a 406 xWOBA underneath it, 20.7% barrel, 59.8% hard hit. Kid's just realizing his talent in real time in front of us. He's been fun to watch over 142, and he's going to keep it going. Nolan Gorman, 30, keep it going. Nolan Gorman, 3,300, 2,800. Cheap for the upside for contact. We've seen Gorman hit home runs in bunches. That is not a bad gamble. 6.22 in the home run model. Going up against a pitcher who, a lot of fly balls out of Chad Patrick. So far this season, just a 1.75% home run rate allowed. Comes with an 8.2% barrel on a 20.4 degree average launch. Plenty of exit velo. Plenty of hard hit behind it. Last season, he kind of did the same thing. It's a significant launch angle, fly ball trajectory, too much hard hit. The exit velo was slightly manageable. It's up by a mile an hour, and that's a crucial mile an hour on average. The max I would expect with that is also up. Obviously, that's significant. But managed to not give up home runs. But it's kind of some good fortune there, some happenstance baked in there. So there's plenty of upside for power for a guy like Nolan Gorman who can go find it against anybody. Puts a lot of zeros in your lineup. Wildly inconsistent. The slash line's nothing to look at. 295 xWOB under a 283 actual. You're just kind of clinging to memory and flashes of premium contact with Gorman, but he's awfully cheap for what the upside actually is. Mason Wynn, average player, overrated in my opinion. 273, 352, 373, 109 WRC plus. He's been fine. 330 WOBA with a 314 xWOBA under the surface. Doesn't really make great contact. Average strikeout rate, average walk rate. There's nothing special there. Shortstop, I would rather go to a higher end player, but correlated scoring, if you're going to the cards heavy, then he's definitely a part of the picture. Nathan Church, cheap lefty with a little bit of contact-based upside. Pedro Paz and Victor Scott, more mix and matchy down the bottom of the lineup. Victor Scott, every now and if he happens to get on, can steal you a base. 5 on the season with a 237 on base and a 31 WRC plus. He's been terrible. Brewers bats. Cards bats. Chad Patrick on DraftKings. I guess Kyle Leahy on DraftKings, but really not going that direction. Patrick on DK, though, is at least a part of the conversation. Dodgers with Yamamoto on the bump, looking pretty tremendous in basically every aspect of what we're doing here. Maybe the bottom 2 guys in the lineup leaving a little bit to be desired outside of the price tags and the multi-position eligibility across everything you could possibly need to make this Dodgers team accessible. So I do think bottom of the Dodgers lineup with Miguel Rojas and Santiago Espinal, if they're the 2 guys down there, entirely playable and probably pretty critical in getting to the full Dodgers stacks, but also the most forgettable guys in that lineup by a pretty wide margin. 56 good plate appearances on the season for Miguel Rojas, though. 2,700 at second base kind of works. Shortstop, I think we want to go another direction in most of our lineups. He's got a home run, solid slash line, a 114 WRC plus on the year. Santiago Espinal, not much of a bat over the years. Fills out positions, can get on base, maybe steal you a base from time to time, but not much of a hitter. You'd just be rostering the cheap price between the 2. I do think we lean a little bit toward Miguel Rojas, but I do think basically everybody that's out there does that. So if you save $500 on DK, $300 on FanDuel, the difference between the 2 is not so extreme that you wouldn't want to go to Santiago Espinal to save the money and probably a ton of ownership. A ton, at least among people who are building full stacks of Dodgers. So I do think there's a worthwhile pivot from one to the other if this is the setup we get. Everyone else in the Dodgers lineup is incredibly obvious. The reason I didn't talk Astros pitching, they're going up against Steven Okert as an opener. And then have we gotten the news about whether it's Weiss or Bolton yet? A couple lineups came in, by the way. Weiss was on the paternity list. He was activated and is on the major league roster. Gordon, at least at last check. The reason I had them both in the mix was I saw it reported differently in two different spots this morning. Gordon went to AAA on the 25th and pitched on the 29th, so he'd be aligned to this start. So just keep an eye on it. If anybody knows, if anybody's seen it, I don't see it announced anywhere. But either way, I don't think we want Colton Gordon. I don't think we want Ryan Weiss behind Steven Okert here pitching against the Dodgers with that kind of a total. Going the other direction, the Astros against Yamamoto. He's pitched to a 21.8% strikeout, 6.1% walk, carrying a 2.87 ERA. But I think some of it's not even downside. It's just some of the reality of Yamamoto is probably reflected in that 3.79 xFIP, 3.86 Sierra. I think we're dealing with, mid threes to 4 run. He's been kind of pedestrian as far as the strikeout stuff goes this season. He's missing bats, 12.8% swinging strike rate. So it's not like it's gone away completely. Last year, I had a 12.6% swinging strike rate, but he was polishing hitters off, 29.4% strikeout overall. So the punch-outs are just down, but the depth has been tremendous, 37 2/3 in his 6 starts. As mentioned, he's pitched at least 6 innings in 5 of his 6 outings. The most recent was the shortest, 5 innings against Miami. Disappointing that day. Struck out 4, but walked 4. Gave up a home run, 3 earned, 4 runs total on 5 hits, faced 24 hitters. Going back in time, though, against the Giants, Mets, Blue Jays, Guardians, and Diamondbacks, 7 innings, 7 2/3, and then 3 of 6 innings apiece. It was tremendous to start the year for depth. So we're just looking for a guy who's going to chew up some innings, find some strikeouts, either in the aggregate or just, by punching up that strikeout rate a little bit in this start. Tons and tons of affordable upside on Yamamoto as compared to the Sorianos of the world, the Cam Schlitlers of the world. 99 on FanDuel, totally works. 93 on DraftKings, totally works. The Astros, not a big-time strikeout team by any means. 17% this year, 21.7 for the same collection of hitters last year, but 16.9 the year before. I do think the high teens number is the correct number, but if Yamamoto works into the 7th in an otherwise clean game, he's going to have 5 to 6 strikeouts. 7 strikeouts twice on the season, 6 strikeouts twice. Really only hampered by a 2 strikeout game against the Guardians for the last time out, but that was a shorter outing. So fire away with Yamamoto, even in a relatively high danger spot against the Astros. They're only pulling a 3.82 implied total. Vegas kind of sees it the same way. Do you think we get there for the money on both sites? Astros bats on the other side, not necessarily a direct need to hedge Yamamoto. He is more than good enough to get through this team, but I think they're a reasonable contrarian option. We talk a lot about, targeting the more gettable aces more aggressively. We talk a lot about wanting to get to good lineups filled with good players from top to bottom. The Astros are definitely that when we get contrarian. So with him getting popular up at the top of the board, with him projecting out pretty well and being as good as he is and as popular as he is, I think getting to some Astros in that sense definitely can make some sense here. Jordan Alvarez is a superstar. We get premium bats in Carlos Correa, Isaac Paredes, decent upside for home run power. There's a lot to work with on the Astros. Looking at the rest of the Dodgers first, though, I talked about the bottom of the batting order and left out the first 7 hitters because they're super obvious. Ohtani's Ohtani at 64, 4,000. He's hit 6 home runs. You can argue it's, a bit of a slow start for him over 153 plate appearances. Despite that, he's at a 126 WRC plus. 396 xWOBA under the surface does reflect the underperformance, 357 actual. He's elite, remains so. You definitely play Shohei Ohtani if you can reach him. And that's none of the underperformance to this point is an argument for going around him or not wanting him. He's the one of the top 3 players on the entire slate. Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, affordably priced, 51.38, 30,000, 2,800 on FanDuel. 3 home runs apiece. Solid upside for on base, 330s on both players, 110, 101 WRC plus. Easy ways to fill first base and catcher on either site. First base util on FanDuel totally works with that combination of hitters. Got multiple bites at the apple in the outfield with this team with Teoscar Hernandez, Kyle Tucker, and Andy Pajas all giving us major upside. 4, 3, and 5 home runs going down the board. Tucker, maybe underwhelming with only 3 home runs, 3 stolen bases, 236, 322, 362. But as somebody said at the beginning of the show, Tucker going back to Houston, you get a little bump from that. Nothing we're putting into the numbers, but good spot for him in a place where he's found a ton of success. More to the point, going up against some nothing pitching. Even if he sees the left-handed opener, it doesn't affect him at all. Kyle Tucker against the lefty, no problem. So fire away with that share, and maybe he gets a little bit less popular than he ought to be, given the 54 on DK. 31, a lot less than Andy Pajas, slightly more than Teoscar. The Dodgers are super cheap on FanDuel, let's be honest. Third by projection, second by value, second by projection, fifth by value on DraftKings. A little bit different across sites. A lot of upside comes from those 4 players. You could roster those 4 as a cheap stack. No problem with that on FanDuel. Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Oscar Hernandez, and Kyle Tucker. Those are 4 all-stars. No problem. And that's less than 0.975 average. That's silly. Any combination of Dodgers, not to leave Max Muncy out with his 17.3% barrel, his 54.3% hard hit, 9 home runs to lead the team. Love Max Muncy. He's been probably their best bat right now. Absolutely at 3,600 at third on FanDuel and 4,400 silly pricing on DraftKings. That's a $5,000 player if I ever saw one. Now to the Astros. Carlos Correa, just 41 on DraftKings, 3,200 on FanDuel. Shortstop only over here, but I have no real issues playing Carlos Correa alongside any of the premium shortstops or, interchangeably with any of the premium shortstops. He is that guy. He always has been. Makes very good contact up there. Carrying a 288, 384, 32 slash line. Ideal in the leadoff spot ahead of Jordan Alvarez. Tremendous combo. Helps bring the price of Alvarez down on the average on both sites. Alvarez has just been the best hitter in the league so far this year. Dozen home runs, 326, 436, 67, 193 WRC plus. Apologies to Ben Rice, I guess. But he's been absolutely fantastic and just, reacquiring his ludicrous superstar upside from seasons past after suffering a little bit last year, missed some time, so on and so forth. Paredes in this ballpark, again, major upside for a home run, just dunk it into the left field corner. Does interesting things when he's not home running, though. Low strikeout, decent upper medium walk rate, gets on base, resets the table for a guy like Christian Walker behind him, who's only 4,300 on DraftKings, by the way. 3,700, different story on FanDuel, fully priced, but worth it. 317, 396, 579, 8 home runs so far. Low strikeout, high walk. Looks like Christian Walker from 3 years ago again. Love the upside at price on DraftKings, and hopefully he doesn't get as popular as he ought to be within people who stack Astros on FanDuel. Was Altuve at 46, 3,000, fairly priced, 3 home runs. The quality up and down a little bit. 338 on base, fine. 248, 392 on the front and the back end of the slash line, not great. 328 WOBA, 321X, 105 WRC plus. Just kind of sliding through as an average type of a player. I think when it falls off, it'll fall off pretty quickly with Altuve. We're not quite there yet. 46, maybe a little pricey, but not a bad way to fill second base if you're already going to the Astros. Johnny Diaz, great way to fill catcher, 3,200. I know that he hasn't been good. 2 home runs, 248, 264, 356. He's quite a bit better than this. At worst, gives you major upside for balls in play. Against a pitcher who has been allowing more frequent balls in play this year. It's just super low strikeout, super low walk rate every single season. Has made much better contact in years past than he has so far this year. You just have to give him a lot of rope here. 3,200 on DraftKings is cheap for a catcher upside. We do have a bunch of cheap catchers on the slate, though, as we've talked about, including on the other side of this game. Dustin Harris, Daniel Johnson, more mix and matchy down lineup. The guy to get to down there, I think, is still Cam Smith. 4 home runs, 4 steals, carrying a 14.5% barrel and 44.6% hard hit that reflect who the actual hitter is here. 344 xWOB under that 314 actual. Some of the numbers have come down, some underperformance overall, striking out a little bit at 27.7, but drawing a 10.2% walk. Some gains there, certainly gains in the premium contact department, and he's just gotten cheap. 3,200 for a guy who started out the season pretty hot. That's not a bad option down lineup for a cheap price from the Astros. Overall, Dodgers bats in a big way. Yamamoto not far behind them on the overall board. Astros bats and don't play Astros pitching. Skubal to undergo surgery? Fuck. That's no good. I'm paying him quite a bit of my salary cap in our Dynasty League. Not great. That season is probably going up in flames with that news. I should get him out of that lineup, I guess. Erg. Could use that news yesterday. At least I could have had him on the IL this week. Made a pickup. That's bad news. Just bad news in general. School's too good. Baseball needs him. Sounds like Holton is opening for the Tigers now. Bad news in general. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Despite the bad news. Help feed the algorithm. White Sox checking in with a 3.42 implied total against Jose Soriano, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball to start the season. A little bit back down to earth in the last couple starts, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Super high priced on FanDuel at 11.4. 9,600 on DraftKings is a little bit more within reach. Projected a little bit lighter than that, certainly. The projection does not mirror the pricing. I think it mirrors a little bit more reality about Jose Soriano. I do think some of the upticks were real, but that's the ceiling rather than the ongoing, what he's able to sustain. And I think we need to kind of reorient our expectations. And that price does not help with that. I do think he's in play at 11.4, but you're chasing ceiling rather than median, which is fine. But you're not getting any kind of discount to do it. And even at that price, I think he'll be popular for a guy who comes in at that price because it's a gettable White Sox team that can feed you strikeouts. There's a lot of danger in that lineup, but Soriano is elite when he's going right at limiting home runs. He did give up 2 in the last game. That was against these same White Sox. Struck out 6, walked 3, 2 home runs, 3 earned runs, 6 hits. Only went 5 innings. We're not overreacting to that game in any way. But again, this is a pitcher we've seen quite a bit of. We know he can flash upside. We know he can limit power. But he can also come through a lot of games for more, the 4 strikeout type totals, which he's done twice already this season. Strikeout rate supported by 2 10 strikeout games and 8 strikeout game along the way. Last time out, 6, not bad in 5 innings. But only 5 the last time. 5 innings the start before that, despite pitching a 7-hit shutout, striking out 4, walking 0. 5 2/3 the outing before that, despite only giving up 2 hits. Struck out 8, but walked 4 in that one. You can see where the downside can come in too. The 9.8% walk rate, as good as the 30.1% strikeout rate is, you're putting on nearly 10% of hitters via the walk. One good batted ball event from a Murakami, from a Colson Montgomery can bend your day awfully quickly at 11.4. So dangerous enough spot. Soriano has more than earned our faith here, but big price tag. Davis Martin on the other side, big price tag on FanDuel at 10-1. Showing us the quality so far this season, 22.9% strikeout, 5.6% walk. Those are good numbers when they go together. 17.36 strikeout minus walk for a pitcher like this, perfectly fine. 1.95 ERA, but the mid-3 xFIP and Sierra more the realistic numbers. But he's seen some growth. 9.6% swinging strike rate is okay. He's been decent at keeping the ball in the yard, I'll say. Limiting barrels a little bit. Launch angle kind of in the middle trajectory-wise, but a lot of hard hit, a lot of exit velo. So I'd say maybe the jury's a little bit still out on Davis Martin here. You can see it in Stuff Plus as well. Pretty underwhelming, more than 10 points below average, but a good locator. Control command kind of a pitcher. He's the kind of guy, though, you throw into the mix with the Angels, could come away with another 7 strikeout game. He struck out 7 in each of the last 2. The last one was against these Angels. 7 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 7 hits over 5 2/3. Got away with it. Found the K's against a heavy strikeout team. But you roll those dice again, and these premium contact upside guys could come away with some of their premium contact, put one over the fence at this price. That day gets uglier quicker than this day does. At this price, it's a completely different story. Davis Martin needs to be good, but he can give up a few runs at that price, especially if he's finding a couple Ks along the way. So big time piece of the DraftKings slate. Very playable on FanDuel. A little bit of faith. If I'm paying that much, I'm probably dancing around all the contact he's likely to allow these Angels, though. White Sox bats, kind of interesting. Let me hit the lineup spot. I don't think we have any of these, but if anything interesting happened with those early ones, we'll talk about it. Sam Antonacci sliding up to the leadoff spot over the weekend, still only 3,200. He's getting on at a 361 clip over his first 61 plate appearances. Creating runs at a 122 clip. He's carrying a 404 xWOB under his 354 actual so far. He's made some interesting contact, 13% barrel rate. He was tearing up the minor leagues, sub 10% strikeout, 8.2% walk. That is a super interesting hitter. Chase Meadroth later in the lineup does a lot of the same things. Antonacci's got a little bit more pop in the bat. They both are going to get on a lot. They're both going to score a lot of runs. So just counting stats galore out of both hitters. They can both steal a base. I think they're interesting bookends in the 1 and the 5. If we're just looking at that White Sox 5-man from the top, just straight line through the best options. There are interesting guys down lineup, though. Most specifically, I think Jarred Kelenic at the min price on both sites should be on the radar. If he's in the lineup, he is definitely in play just for what the pedigree is, what the premium contact has been in the show. As mixed as the results might be over time for Jarred Kelenic, former top prospect in the major leagues, in 2023, 9.5% barrel, 45.5% hard hit. Following year, 9.9, 45. Last year in a mixed sample size, 13.5% barrel. The hard hits slipped bad. He only made 65 plate appearances. That's right. That wasn't even a fair sample. 448 was the one I was thinking of. That was the year before. 15 home runs, 7 stolen bases. The slash line is terrible. Again, he saw no results for it. But he's always made good contact. Low strikeout, low walk in his 7 plate appearances right now. 35% strikeout, 7% walk. The truth is probably in this range somewhere around a 30% strikeout guy. 7 to 9% walk, but probably not double digits. You're just looking for one good bat at ball, though. Against Soriano, it's not a great proposition. It's a guy who can easily strike out 3 times against this pitcher. And again, it's a pitcher who suppresses power. But if we're hunting for upside, if we're hunting for that one good bat at ball event with this team, might as well take the guy who's capable of it from the min price rather than a Tristan Peters and Edgar Quero. Definitely prefer Jarred Kelenic over Andrew Benintendi, even though Benintendi found some success for batted balls last year, has shown some upside for it this year. 12.5% barrel, 57.8% hard hit over 100 plate appearances. We know that's not really Andrew Benintendi. None of that quality is reflected across any of his other stats. Strikes out at a 35% rate himself. So give me the guy who's much cheaper doing a lot of that anyway. But the real quality is those top 5. And everybody's at least within reach price-wise. It's a 4,340 average on DraftKings. You fill your infield and take an outfielder? Not bad. Murakami's obvious, 13 home runs, just been crushing baseballs. Monster, premium contact rate, 362 on base, drawing an 18.1% walk rate over his first 149 plate appearances. Just outrageously good start. A lot of people are already arguing that the White Sox should trade him at the deadline. Miguel Vargas at 47.35. Better than a mix and match guy so far this year in terms of the counting stats. The on base has been tremendous. 351 WOBA, 364 xWOBA. Very, very playable. 3,500 I don't love, but at least he's got position flex on FanDuel. 47 at third base. Borderline price-wise, but the right position for him on DraftKings. 46 for Colson Montgomery, perfectly fine. One of the best producing shortstops over the last, basically almost calendar year. Or not calendar year, excuse me. Since like last August when he came up. Montgomery, 9 home runs so far this year, a 130 WRC plus, tremendous source of premium contact from the left side. And then again, Meadroth, just good source of bat on ball, drawing a decent walk rate, getting on a lot at a 346 clip, 98 WRC plus, but that's climbing as he's making better contact and getting on a little bit more frequently. On the Angels side, again, we're hunting for premium contact here against a guy who is definitely capable of giving it up and not a big-time strikeout guy in the long term in anything we've seen from him before. So I think Mike Trout very much on the board, 9.44 in the home run model, 4,500 across sites, 10 home runs, a 433 on base. Mike Trout resurrected. 24.1% barrel just on a day where Tarek Skubal just got hurt. Let's knock on wood for Mike Trout's health. Byron Buxton, if you're out there. Trevor Story. Who else? Zach Neto in the leadoff spot at 55, 35, 5 home runs, 7 steals. Otherwise, just mediocre start, 216, 331, 381. But we know that he's better as a hitter, hitting for average. We know he's better at getting on base than that. 100 WRC plus, we should see him push those numbers up pretty significantly. At worst, a major, major upside piece at shortstop with plenty of premium contact. Joan Moncada, mix and match piece for a fair price. Off to a pretty poor start, 3 home runs and 105 plate appearances, but you can focus on the contact a little bit. Last year, in a mid-size sample, 14.3% barrel. So far this year, just under 10. Not a terrible option. Switch hitter for a cheap price at a key position. Jorge Soler, all the power upside in the world, 7 home runs on the board and 134 chances. Kind of reclaiming his output, at least in terms of the home run rate. Everything else, you just take your zeros when you get them. Nolan Shanuel, mix and match piece who gets on base. Reset the table for Joe Adell. Major source of power upside from the 7 spot. 4 home runs and 8.18 in the home run model today. Starting to pull the barrel rate up a little bit, 5.4%. Long, long way to go to get to 17 too, but it'll probably be in double digits before we know it. Just add some opportunity there. Travis d'Arnaud would be my favorite option from the last 3. $2,200 cheap catcher who can barrel a ball on DraftKings. There's upside there. The other 2, more mix and matchy. Josh Lowe, Adam Frazier. Soriano DraftKings, followed by Soriano FanDuel, followed by Davis Martin DraftKings, followed by Angels Bats, Davis Martin FanDuel, and then White Sox Bats. Those 2 things are close. The Braves, speaking of major injuries, Ronald Acuna. At least he's not, so far as we know, badly hurt. On the IL, though, not going to be in the lineup tonight. Braves knocked down to a 3-5 total in a pitcher-friendly park, going up against an excellent starter. Logan Gilbert at 9,000 and more to the point, 8,600 on FanDuel. Top projection on the board, looking like a great piece with upside. There are some strikeouts depending on what the Braves roll out here. They're not filthy with strikeout upside, but Gilbert's more than capable of finding some against them. And again, the ballpark helps. The upside of the pitcher, just putting the pieces together for the season, helps. 4.03 ERA so far is not terrible, but it's not quite who Logan Gilbert is. 3.57 xFIP, 3.47 Sierra, more in line. 24.4% strikeout against a 5% walk rate is around who Logan Gilbert is, with upside into even more strikeout. 12.4% swinging strikes so far. It's given up a little premium contact, fly ball trajectory for sure. Could feed the upside for Braves home runs. Matty Olson at a 10.25, Austin Riley at 10.32. Certainly nothing to ignore. Michael Harris, Drake Baldwin, major sources of premium contact upside from the left side of the plate. Both slightly under 10, but again, major, major home run hitters. So there's plenty of danger for Gilbert here. He hasn't been at peak form, but I think that's A, why we're getting him so cheap. And B, hopefully people just don't go to him. Maybe they don't think about the implied total there for the Braves. Maybe they don't think about the pitcher park. They just think Braves been a hot offense. Maybe we get Logan Gilbert through a little bit sneakier than he ought to be. That is a major bargain if so. Love the upside. Could go pop though. Again, the Braves, even without Acuna in here, a lot of upside bats. We've seen this team scuffle in recent memory though the last 2 seasons. When Acuna's out of the lineup, it has a major impact, even when he's been going poorly. AK Boy 305 saying Gilbert's been so regular this season so far, even at home. Yeah, I mean, that's why we don't trust 7-game samples. We know that Logan Gilbert's better than this. And even with that, even with some bumps in the road, 4.03 RA is not bad. 3.57 xFIP, 3.47 Sierra are the underlying numbers. That's around who he's supposed to be. Last year, 3.44 ERA, sub 3 xFIP, sub 3 Sierra. Had more swinging strike to his game, significantly more strikeout in 131 innings, 25 starts. But we're not bad in any of these categories. And we're fine on the strikeout to walk ratio. 19.4 strikeout minus walk. Last year it was 26.5. That's elite. Year before, looked closer to informed to this year though. 27.4% strikeout over a complete season, 33 starts, 208 and 2/3. The depth is tremendous. His ability to limit walks against the strikeouts is his key asset, though. But yeah, Gilbert's tremendous. So let other people worry about 7 up and down starts this year. Last time out, 5 innings, give up 1 earned run, struck out 4. Start before that, give up 3 earned runs, was out of the game after 4 against the Athletics. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. 5 1/3, 7 strikeouts, 2-run game against the Rangers, 7-inning game, 6-inning game, 5 1/3 in the first 2 starts. So the depth has been a little bit shorter in the last couple. Just been pitching a little bit inefficiently. I see no reason to go around it. Love the pricing. Love the upside. And again, the Braves slightly diminished without their superstar, even though he's not been himself to start the season. It's a major, major bat to take out of this lineup. J.R. Ritchie on this side, 8,500, 9,600. I just don't like that FanDuel price. I don't love the DraftKings price, but I consider it a little bit more playable at least. First 2 starts, 12 1/3, 21.6% strikeout, 11.8% walk. I think most notably, fly ball trajectory, 41.2% hard hit, 88.4 miles an hour of exit velocity. Nothing to worry about with the exit velo. Hard hits is small sample stuff, some happenstance in here. But he's given up a few home runs. The stuff hasn't exactly measured out great via Stuff Plus, which does work in small samples. Kid's a premium prospect, but if we're not getting a ton of strikeout upside, and the Mariners can force some strikeout in your direction, if we're getting some just frequency of contact, if we're getting a few too many walks, I think that just favors everything that these Mariners are looking to do out there. They've been rough to start the season, but we've got multiple guys drawing double-digit walk rates like they have in the past. Manageable enough strikeout rates around what we would expect from guys with major premium contact upside, either finding it now or in recent memory that we know is real. Mariners are showing plenty of power upside here. 4.10 implied total is not great. Ballpark environment, not great. Favors the pitcher. But give me a little bit of maybe sneaky Mariners. They're very affordable, particularly on FanDuel. Love that price setup. What do they rate? 7th by points, 6th by value on FanDuel. A little bit lighter on DK. 9th by points, 9th by value. They're 3rd on the home run board, which does have a larger impact on the FanDuel slate. So maybe I'm speaking to the blue side a little bit more than the DraftKings slate right now. But just given who we've got to work with going up against a rookie pitcher making his 3rd start, giving up a few home runs already in the show, why not Cal Raleigh at a 17.4 in the home run model? Why not Julio? An underperforming Josh Naylor, so on and so forth. This is a maybe not 9-man lineup, with apologies to Leo Rivas at the bottom of the lineup, but certainly an 8-man lineup. It's one of the deeper teams on the board. Plenty to work with on the Mariners side. If you're going to Braves against Logan Gilbert, it's not a terrible idea. Again, he's not been quite himself. It is still a good lineup that'll probably be under-owned for people going to Gilbert, for as good as Gilbert is, the ballpark, et cetera, the low total. You could pick off a Matt Olson at a fair price and probably under-owned, at least on DraftKings at 5. That's cheap. 4,300 on FanDuel is fair. 11 home runs, one of the best hitters in the league once again this year. Drake Baldwin, one of the top catchers on any slate. 315, 391, 517 start, 8 home runs. Major premium contact from the left side. Michael Harris has an 18.4% barrel rate and a 57.5% hard hit rate so far this season. 113 damn good plate appearances, 3,600 in the outfield. Doesn't really make sense. FanDuel not reacting to it at all, 3,100. Love the upside. Ozzie Albies at 43.32. Great start to his year. Getting back on track for where he used to be. The XWOB is up to 320 under that 405 actual. I was more concerned about it not being real when that was, around 300 a couple days ago. So even that's climbing now. Looking more and more real. Austin Riley maybe getting it together. 4 home runs, 3 steals. Couple good games, couple good pieces of contact recently. 8.5% barrel, 45.7% hard hit. Not nearly where we need him, but he's cheap. Dom Smith, Mauricio Dubon, Mike Yastrzemski, and Jorge Mateo, much more mix and matchy. Any one of those guys can feed the upside of a lineup on the right slate, though. Smith, great start to his year. 4 home runs is a little bit odd. We expect him to hit for average, keep strikeouts down, put the ball in play. Found a lot of early success, though. 397 WOBA, 399 XWOBA under the surface. Can't argue with what he's done so far, but you're not even paying a tax for it, honestly. 35, 3,000, fair. Dubon smashed his face into the wall and left the eye black on the wall yesterday. That was kind of cool. 2 home runs on the board. Solid start to his year. 108 WRC plus. Mateo can steal you a bag. Yastrzemski could hit you a cheap home run from down lineup. But again, if I'm going back and forth in this one, I prefer the Logan Gilbert side of that matchup, and I prefer the Mariners side of this matchup. Crawford in the leadoff spot, 357 on base, 3,300, 2,800. Not a bad way to fill shortstop, a position we've kind of talked around, looking to find the right shortstop for it. Honestly, I mean, given the options on this one, now that we've talked our way through most of the slate, we talked about Dansby. Bobby Witt's obvious. Mookie Betts obviously not here. Neto is not really. Carlos Correa is in the conversation, certainly. Gunnar. Gunner's going against Cam Schlittler in not a great situation. Correa, also not a great situation going up against Yamamoto. So, Neto, Dansby from down lineup, hopefully sneakier in the Cubs lineup than some of the other guys. Nico's got the eligibility, but I think you want him at second base most of the time. And then Bobby, the obvious guy. It's just kind of an interesting, as much as I talked about wanting to reserve it for a premium shortstop bat, maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit more flexible today, just given the general lack of options. This was the home run board, by the way. You guys have seen this before. We'll sort the whole thing. Eventually. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Cal Raleigh. No surprises up at the top, but a little highlight on the Mariners there. You get 1, 2, bunch of Cubbies stuck right there in the middle at the magic number. A couple other guys from Seattle down this way. So again, that Mariners power is showing up in the model here. Crawford sets the table. He gets on base in an elite clip. Playable piece for correlated scoring. Cal Raleigh is Cal Raleigh. Major upside for power. 7 home runs in an otherwise terrible, terrible start, but starting to find the contact. 13.6% barrel rate and climbing. I think we're going to pull out of it and be just fine. 5,100, 3,200 across sites. He's gotten awfully cheap, and especially for this spot, love the upside. Julio at 46.28. Everything I just said about Cal Raleigh is true. Julio's even got a decent slash line. 268, 336, 406. I mean, it's not where you expect him, but for the average outfielder, which is what he's priced like on both sites, that's an acceptable line. His creator runs 13% better than average. 331 weighted on base, 332 xWOBA. For that money, he is perfectly fine putting up those numbers, and we know what the ceiling is. We know what he's capable of. 36.28 for Josh Naylor. He's been bad. 4 home runs, 4 steals. Otherwise, the slash line's been terrible. 75 WRC plus. Had a monster year for counting stats last year. We know Josh Naylor can hit better than this. Love that option from the left side. Adar Serena at just 41.32 has actually been good this year. As I speak, 129 WRC plus, getting on at a 363 clip. The premium contact has been up and down a little bit. Home run total's just at 3, but he's stolen 7 bases. He's been carrying this offense. Cole Young, Leo Rivas down the bottom of the lineup. Young's been producing 266, 333, 387 for a cheap infielder. Guy who plays every day, second base, 3,200. Inoffensive at least. He's cheap. He's easy to roster. Don't want him at shortstop on FanDuel necessarily, but second base, not a bad option. Rivas is more here just as a lineup filler here for defense. And then we get to the 2 lefties in the outfield. They're both cheap, 34-31, 2,700 a piece on FanDuel. You do have first base eligibility on one of them, which is great. Helps you flex things around a little bit if you're not using Josh Naylor, if you need to save $100 to reach a better pitcher, so be it. You could take Luke Raley at first, leave Josh Naylor on the table, and not lose that much. Raley does a lot of the same things out there. Right now, Canzone, 3 home runs on the board, 264, 325, 486 with a 128 WRC plus, 378 xWOB under a 354 actual. 16.4% barrel, 52.7% hard hit. Dominic Canzone carrying 8.67 in the home run model today. He's the home run pick from the Mariners in like the team by team. The overall pick of the day, 7.66, carrying 18.9% barrel rate on the season. 96 plate appearances. He's hit 5 home runs. Effective driver of baseballs over time. Double-digit barrel rate each of the last 3 seasons. Fair amount of strikeouts, only an average walk rate. But definitely crush one from the left side against a rookie pitcher. Luke Raley, home run pick of the day. Can you get back on track with Mr. Raley here today? Up and down. Really liking the looks of the Mariners. I think they are a good way to build, and they fit together with a lot of different teams, and they are affordable on FanDuel. I will say Gilbert, Mariners bats. Richie on DraftKings, Braves bats, Richie on FanDuel. I really don't like that 9,600. There are strikeouts here, but I don't know. We close it out with the Padres and the Giants. Antonio says, ask Joker who's his favorite pitcher in stack. He came in and just kind of chilled. I don't know. He's like over there. Joker. Man, he's out. Old dogs. When they get deep into sleep, every now and then you call them from across the room, and then you get concerned. They don't move, and you're like, ugh. Give them a nudge with the foot. I think Joker was with me on the Mariners today, and he was saying the obvious Cubs, bark at the wind. 4-3 home implied for the Pods. I think you could throw them at Trevor McDonald. As mentioned, we will give McDonald at least a little consideration at that $4,000 price tag. Went 5 innings in the most recent outing in AAA, as I went through before. That was against Colorado's affiliate. Struck out 3, walked 2 hits over 19 hitters. Again, the 5 innings for the 4,000 would be what you're looking for here. I think you get 2 to 4 strikeouts if he manages to get through 5 innings. Probably no more than that. Did not strike out more than 4 in any of his minor league appearances. The 5 innings the last time out was the only time he's gone 5. Prior to that, he had only gone 3, pitched into a 3rd inning in the other 3 starts, or the other 3 outings. Lackluster numbers overall. Low-end numbers in the minor leagues. 25 years old, so not unfair samples, but it's about time to make your mark in the majors, and I don't really like his chances to do it. Pretty low strikeout through a lot of stops in the minors. Couple blips with elevated strikeout rates, but they were kind of low-class stops, so I don't put a lot of faith in it. He was like an 11th round pick. Again, 4,000, you don't have to be good. That makes it easy to reach any of the aces. Some pretty premium bats. So it's a building block. It is a playable DraftKings piece at that price. I would not expect, if you get 5 and a shot at the win, consider yourself lucky. I probably wouldn't go into this expecting more than, 3. And in 3, he's unlikely to find a major upside for strikeouts. But again, in the end of coming down the stretch last year, in the show against the Rockies, 9 on September 26th of last year, 7 innings, 10 strikeout game. Total outlier. Make of that what you will at 4,000 on DraftKings. That's where your game theory comes in. Randy Vasquez, more human than his last 2 outings. Kind of the Randy Vasquez that we know. 5 earned runs last time out over 5 innings. Struck out 4, walked 3, 2 home runs allowed. That was against the Cubs. At Coors Field was excellent. 3 hits over 7 innings, struck out 5, walked 0, but gave up 4 earned runs in 4 innings to the Mariners to start before that. 6 strikeouts, but 4 walks in that game. So the improved arsenal, the tweaked arsenal, once the book catches up, it's not really to your advantage. So probably we saw the best version of Randy Vasquez that we're going to get through most of the season, at least in any kind of projectable, predictable sense. We probably already saw it. We're paying a bit of a tax for it at 9,000 on FanDuel. This is a low strikeout pitcher under normal circumstances. 8,000 on DraftKings is at least more on the board. Going up against a Giants team that has been very low end to start the year. Has plenty of strikeout upside for Vasquez to go find his 6 Ks, 5, 6 Ks. That would be a good game for him. But it's also a Giants team that's struggling because Rafi Devers, who is excellent, has been bad. Matt Chapman has been pretty weak. Luis Arias has been okay for what he does, but not really a guy who can create things on his own. Willy Adames has been bad. The guys who need to drive the offense here have largely been pretty bad, but we know they're a lot better than this. This team also is adding Bryce Eldridge, one of their top prospects, 2,300, 2,000 across sites. That's a bat to be aware of. Kid's got a lot of upside for premium contact. Decent at managing the strike zone, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. Fair amount of Ks, but a elevated walk rate at most of his stops. Last year in 433 plate appearances, primarily in AAA, 25 home runs, 260, 333, 510, a 250 ISO, 29.3% strikeout, 9.7% walk. Comps are all over the map, but that is a cheap upside bat at first base that could give you a little something against Randy Vasquez and could just create a little motivation for this team, get them fired up, playing a little bit better, so on and so forth. Don't love Vasquez. Would play some Giants, especially if they're sneaky. Not a great spot, though, in a pitcher-friendly park. Padres bats on this side, more of the focal point, I think, for taking offense out of this game. You got a cheap price on Fernando Tatis with that second base eligibility on both sides. $2,900 on FanDuel. Silly. $49 on DraftKings is also getting cheap. The contact is there. He's, as we've talked about, just kind of driving everything the other way. So not hitting home runs. He's got none on the season, despite all those barrels, all those hard hits. 261, 333, 311, and 86 WRC plus is near inexplicable. 359 xWOB under a 293 actual. Most of the pieces are there. He just needs to start doing what he's supposed to do again. I don't know if he's out there just defying coaching for some reason or if they're asking him to do this. It's just weird. But it's in no way reflective of what this kid's talent actually is. So I would just take the cheap price. You can go back to it against a minor league pitcher. Ramon Laureano at 41-31. Okay, 4 home runs, 4 steals. Kind of still getting a little bit of favoritism from last year's pricing. The barrels and the hard hits are still there, though. Pretty much in line with last year. Barrels exactly the same. Hard hits slightly down, but it's reasonable. Jackson Merrill at 46, 3,000. Playable piece, 3 home runs, 6 steals. We know there's more upside for talent than that, at least for counting stats. Been a little bit up and down to start his year, though. 73 WRC plus and really concerning right here. 273, 299 WOBA, xWOBA. Manny Machado at 42, 31. Up to 5 home runs now. Starting to surge, starting to look back to normal. I think we just needed to wait out a little slump, and we're going to be fine. Trending upward, 3,100, 4,200. Still very affordable at third base. Xander Bogaerts, not a bad way to fill short. Again, the shortstop not as deep as we might have hoped, or not as star-laden as we might have hoped. Bogey having a decent start to his year. 5 home runs, 4 steals. 121 WRC plus is excellent. 350 xWOB under a 344 actual so far. Making decent enough contact. Playable piece. Gavin Sheets with a double-digit barrel rate at 3,327. Might as well. I prefer him in the outfield on FanDuel. At least playable at first. 4 home runs on the board. Kind of an average hitter, 20 home run type power, but any given slate against the minor league pitcher, take the lefty upside. Miguel Andujar mix and match for a little bit of hit tool ability. Every now and then can drive the ball, but we're just more looking for a guy who gets on base, succeeds via BABIP right now. 316, 349, 494. Pretty good start to his year. But you can see a lot of that in the 371 actual WOBA against the 287X. Luis Camposano, Jake Cronenworth moving parts down the bottom. Cronenworth, terrible start, over 111 plate appearances. This is one of the worst stretches that I can remember anyway for this player. At a minimum, he's usually getting on base at a pretty decent level. Right now, just nothing. And then on the Giants side, to round out the show, Young-Hoo Lee, you get him in the leadoff role for cheap, going up against a hittable righty with plenty of upside for contact. By the way, 14.4% barrel, 44.4% hard hit, 90.3 miles an hour of exit velo. All 3 of those are well above our thresholds. Only a 2.19% home run rate. Randy Vasquez is lucky to be there. So there is upside for a little bit of sneaky power from the Giants as well. Young-Hoo Lee is more of a line drive hitter. 281, 331, 413. Not a bad table setter option if he's leading off, though. Luis Ariz, unfortunately, does a lot of those same things. He's more of a slap hitter, doesn't even drive the ball as effectively as Lee does. As a 1-2, that's not a great combination to start a lineup. They should have Rafi Devers hitting second under against anybody under all circumstances, never change it. And one of those 2 guys in the leadoff role with the other one down lineup. If this is what you get, you can play those 2 guys in the same one, but I would prefer one or the other one just as a correlated scoring piece and leave the other guy on the table. Alternate them as you build more Giant stacks if you're building more than one. Chapman's cheap at 4, 2,800. Only 1 home run, a pretty weak slash line over 145 now. That's trending in the wrong direction. 267 xWOB under a 301 actual. Eventually, I think he gets the engine turned over. He's been too good over time not to. Too much premium contact not to. But right now, really going through it. 4.2% barrel, 33.3% hard hit. Totally uncharacteristic. Devers, as mentioned, has been terrible at 214, 257, 305. One of the worst hitters in baseball to start his season. We saw him struggle at the beginning of last year. Ended up as a San Francisco Giant with an elite slash line when it was all said and done. I think you just continue going to him and you take that lefty pop against the pitcher again, who's giving up a monster barrel rate, who gives it up it gives up tons and tons of contact. Randy Vasquez is not as good as he was over his first few starts. Take the upside. Willy Adames, cheap. Good shortstop with power. 3 home runs, otherwise pretty bad slash line so far. Eldridge I talked about. Elliot Ramos has been one of the few good options on this team. Just 3 home runs, but 270, 308, 410. He's been effective in terms of the slash line. 337 actual under the 315 actual, carrying a monster 15.3% barrel, 54.1% hard hit. I'm a buyer on Elliot Ramos. He was a pretty low strikeout guy, 22.7% last year, 26.1 the year before. I think he gains at least some of that back over time. And like I said about whoever an hour and change ago at the beginning of the show, 2 hours ago, just the difference. Give me half that difference of strikeout rate back in just contact events at that level of contact, and we get plenty of upside numbers coming. So definitely interested at 32, 28 in the outfield. Drew Gilbert, Patty Bailey, just kind of guys down the bottom of the lineup. Gilbert, not a bad 52 plate appearances, though. Padres bats, but I think the Giants may be a little bit closer than you would otherwise think to them. They don't rate out great on the stacks board, though. They're down toward, they're at the bottom, but you can see it in the value. 11th by value, 11th by DK value, and 8th by home run. So again, not totally dead, even though they're ranked down at the bottom of the board. And then the Pods kind of middle of the board, 9, 9, 8, 10, but ranked 16th by home run upside, oddly, because these guys just not hitting home runs this year. But Padres, Giants, Randy Vasquez, if you need a pitcher, I don't love him at 9. He's only playable at 8. One last time, that's your pitching board. Long meandering show. We had to delay for a moment for the tragic news about Tarek Skubal. Elbow surgery pending. Not good. But we have a lot to work with for building lineups on this slate. A lot of day left as well. So pay attention to Rotoscouts for any changes. Rotoscouts.com and scrolling across the bottom of your screen. MLB, NBA, NHL, and NFL main slates, all under $1 a day, all in pricing for everything that hits that website. No surprises, no per sport nonsense. Top Stacks tool is free on the website today. I showed it a few times during the show. Check that out, even if you're not a subscriber over at rotoscouts.com. Jump in for a subscription, under $1 a day, weekly, monthly, quarterly plans available. Logan Gilbert with a little bit of faith. Love those prices. Love that ballpark. Love taking on an Atlanta team that just lost Ronald Acuna. 86, 9,000 totally works. Schlittler, nothing to worry about other than the pricing. Maybe a little Yankee Stadium working in, but he's been absolutely tremendous. Yamamoto, I think a little tick down beyond, Gilbert, Schlittler for the upside for strikeouts, but probably, appropriately above Cabrera. Soriano at those prices is just a wild card. Major upside. I think fairly projected at the median. Significant ceiling commensurate with those prices, though. So do not scratch him off your board just because he's down a few pegs against those prices for median. Chase the ceiling. Cabrera just needs to fade the weather, fade his walks. 89.77 is the right price to find out with ECAB against that Cincinnati team. Plenty of strikeout for him. Bybee and Waka on either side of the Kansas City and Cleveland game. There's weather in that game. Favors hitters if it plays. Might wash out. Middle of the board type options. Both righties, just kind of 3-4 type starter output so far this year. Similar things about Chad Patrick, Davis Martin in the middle. Baz, I see more downside, but again, on the right day, you find those oddballs who get through that Yankees lineup, find a little bit of whiff, and make it work. 8,075 more playable on DK. Leahy's just a cheapo dart from the bargain bin, but meh. Richie, I don't like the pricing. I'm hunting that Mariners power. Bottom end guys, I think maybe a couple shares of $4,000 McDonald with no expectations for quality, just using the $4,000 as a lever to get to other things and take your 5 to 8 points or 10 points or whatever you get out of them. If you get 10 points out of them in that spot, that's a win, by the way. So if you get that median, you get 5 innings, upside at a win bonus, major victory. Home run pick of the day one more time, Luke Raley. I do like those Mariners bats, hoping they're a little bit sneaky. Don't love the ballpark. But a lot of upside for premium contact from him and Dom Can's zone hiding down lineup, in addition to the guys that are much more obvious. They fit together with a lot of interesting teams, too. Kind of like it. Lots to work with, though. Fun slate, fun show. Meandered our way through it, but we got through it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel one last time. Drop your home run pick of the day. Can't use mine, but drop yours into the comments below the video. Not in the chat, in the comments. I'll scroll back at the end of the night. If you got it right, I'll throw you a free week. If you're not a subscriber, pat on the back if you are. Hop into the Discord while you're going down there as well. It's linked in the description for this video. And Discord's totally free. You don't need to be a subscriber or anything. We can just hang out in there, talk shop, talk baseball, ask questions, etc. With that, mind gang, good luck out there tonight. Let me get off this show and stop talking to myself. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. We'll see you tomorrow.